Hi, everybody, and welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 32. I am your host, and with me, as always, is my teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Hello.
Well, we are back in the studio for episode 32. After our walk to the plaza, got our booster juice. It's above 0 degrees Celsius today in where we live in southern Ontario, so things are starting to melt. If this continues, we'll enter my least favorite part of the year, where it's the slushy, dirty, disgusting mess between winter and spring, but at least I guess it means spring is coming.
Yeah.
It's that time of year where it's impossible to keep your car clean. It's impossible to keep your shoes clean. It's just a slushy,
it's impossible to enjoy yourself outside.
Slushy, sandy mess from all the road salt and sand. It just becomes a mess, but that's okay. It means spring's on its way. I'd just like to thank listeners off the top for checking us out or continuing to come back and listen. We had a couple pretty huge days by our standards last week, so thank you very much. Again, if you'd like to contact us, it's fnswrestling@gmail.com or fns_wrestling_podcast on Instagram. If you'd like to give us any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Suggestions, comments, criticisms, whatever. Be great to hear from anyone. Because, we had a few good days. It seems like I was just telling Jack, we have a predictable pattern now. We get a bunch of listeners on Sunday and Monday early in the week, which makes sense when we publish on a Saturday, and then it sort of tapers off at the end of the week, as I guess the people that want to hear us have heard us by then. So again, we're back to looking like some slow, steady growth, so that is great. So thanks again to everybody who's doing that. Anything new from you this week? How was school?
Fine.
Actually in school, face-to-face with humans, went okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so our area is still in the red zone, which means things are open, but with a lot of restrictions, obviously. So my wife and other son, younger son, just actually left the house to go out into the world, which is a pretty rare thing. Exciting to see happening on a weekend. Maybe we're getting closer to things being a little bit back to normal. So they went out to do, I don't know what they're doing, to leave the house to us, I guess, to record this giant podcast. So school was just okay. Nothing exciting.
Yeah.
Anything exciting happened to you this week?
I downloaded a Jay White on
Yes, you've become a little bit obsessed with New Japan right now.
Jay White.
And Jay White in particular.
Jay White's sick.
He is sick.
But I found a really good looking one. I find it's kind of difficult to find good looking custom characters on 2K, because obviously they're made by people, so
yeah,
I actually was able to find a decent.
It did look pretty good. I saw it. Yeah, he is cool for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't have much to talk about in banter, buddy. I feel like we're going to probably have a long show anyway, so do you want to just fire right into some news and rumors?
Yeah.
All right, so that's what we'll do. Our first segment, as always, is news and rumors. And I will start out with the ratings for week 72 of the Wednesday Night War, which again, surprise, surprise, saw AEW defeat WWE NXT in viewership and the ratings in the demographic, the key demographic yet again. So Wednesday's live edition of Dynamite drew 831,000 viewers, which is up 11% from last week, while NXT, also a live show this week, drew 734 viewers, which is excellent for them, up 3% from last week. So this week, that's a 13% margin of victory for AEW in terms of viewership. In the treasured 18 to 49-year-old demographic, we had AEW draw a 0.35, which is up 13% from last week, while NXT drew a 0.18 in that same demographic, which was up 13% for them this week as well. So the bottom line is NXT had a great week, but AEW still wins overall the battle.
Shocker.
Right? Seems to be the pretty similar report most weeks in terms of who won. The numbers change slightly, but the result seems to be the same, where AEW is the preferred show.
Yeah. Speaking of AEW, I think people probably heard by now, but a huge signing for them, as they have signed Paul White, FKA The Big Show.
I would say literally huge, maybe not figuratively huge.
I think it's just huge, as in a lot of people are talking about it, because it's Big Show.
And that's why they're doing it. We on this podcast, being hardcore wrestling fans that are never going to miss AEW anyways, I personally don't care.
He's on the Dark Elevation thing or whatever.
Right, which I think is their sort of in-between Dark and Dynamite show, as I think the route they're going to take with it. So a little bit more enhancement rather than just jobbers, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a spot for him because he can probably do commentary. He is pretty good on the microphone, just being himself, right, and talking. So I don't think it's a necessary signing, but
I heard he might be wrestling too, so.
I'm sure he will. And again, it gets to this sort of, I don't want it to feel like they're just snapping up anybody that leaves WWE.
No, they're not. They're not taking everybody, I think.
But they already have so many people without
Yeah.
enough time to get them on TV, I feel, as it is. So I don't quite understand it, but
I don't understand Sting still.
they may have some sort of plans in the future, so we'll see where that goes, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else in news?
Marty Scurll has reportedly been seen at an NJPW Strong taping, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was going to be just gone from wrestling.
I know you like him.
I do. I mean, he's
Or you
sort of a
did.
victim of the speaking out or whatever it was, right? So I'm not sure how I feel about him as a person, but as a wrestler and a competitor and a character, yeah, I was quite a fan because he's just kind of different and strange and pretty good in the ring as well. So interesting to see where he'll sort of land. Looks
Yeah.
like New Japan Strong for now.
Mm-hmm.
I had former ROH star Kelly Klein, who I actually don't remember.
Oh, I remember who that is.
She was their champion apparently at some point.
Yeah.
She's filed an employment discrimination lawsuit against ROH and their parent company of Sinclair Broadcasting. So she's named many people in this suit. A couple names people might recognize are Delirious and Jay Lethal because I think they're in some sort of a backstage and booking role, not just sort of as competitors.
Jay Lethal makes sense because he's been there for like forever.
And I think Delirious works backstage for them as well. So Klein alleges she was terminated from ROH contract on December 31st of 2019 because of her complaints regarding the pay issues between male and female wrestlers, the lack of safety and medical protocols after she had suffered a concussion in October of 2019, as well as citing sexual harassment during her time at ROH. So obviously not great news for ROH. And
ROH is not really, that's not good for them because they had a huge controversy like a while ago, right?
And if it is all true, they should be punished and dealt with. I know she's
Right.
seeking, I think it was around $75,000 in damages, and I'm not sure what else, but hopefully it gets figured out and settled.
Yeah, I think they should really be careful with what.
And hopefully wrestling just
This
starts
kinda
to clean itself up because people are being more honest and open about these things happening. So this is an opportunity, hopefully, for the entire industry to sort of take a step forward from some of the shady behavior they've been linked to in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from you?
Yeah, I got a few things. So, a while back, I think it was in September, there was a report that Melina was in talks with WWE and she was expected to return
Definitely, I
really
remember
soon,
that.
right? And so
Think I
the
predicted a
reason
return.
why she didn't return is because there was talks of it and like she was open to it, but then it turned out she has a bad knee, so she can't wrestle.
Oh, nice.
So
Well, I mean, not
injury
nice, but
prevention.
yeah, I think I predicted her as a surprise entrant in the Rumble because
Yeah.
I had heard she had signed.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one more that's maybe not news as much as like an interesting fact that I just heard recently on Wrestle Inc. Wrestling Inc. So it's from them. And I'm going to ask you, I'm sort of setting you up here because you don't know. How many singles matches has Miz, your champion right now of Raw, won in the last 365 days?
14.
Wow, you are not even close. According to Wrestling Inc., he has won one match in the last year.
What?
Singles. Do you know who it was against? Stellar opponent?
Drew McIntyre?
Otis.
Right, at Hell in a Cell.
So your current, according to them, and if
I
you're
thought
fact
they were
checking,
including the Money in the Bank.
nope. So
No,
basically,
I remember that.
your WWE champion on, or whatever it is it Universal? I can't remember which belt is where. The champion on Raw has won one singles match in the last 365 days.
Other than his Money in the Bank cash-in.
Over a mid-card talent at best. So
a comedy act.
and that's not that I
best.
don't like Miz, because I think Miz is a star, and if he were booked and built properly, I don't really have an issue. But it's
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it's not that you don't like Otis. Otis sucks.
I don't like Otis particularly,
I
but
don't.
The Miz I think is fine. It's just that is an interesting statistic, right? That he's carrying your belt and has barely won in the last year. But anyways,
Yeah, that's
not so much news as a fact. What else do you have? That's it for me.
So another New Japan tidbit. They've reportedly been holding talks with multiple outlets over a U.S. TV deal, which I hope would apply somewhat here as well.
Right.
But so yeah, they're working on another TV deal over in the U.S.
Well, hopefully that means some sort of content we would like to see would be nice.
Yeah.
We'll see. I
Other
guess.
than NJPW Strong or whatever.
Yeah, it hasn't blown me away. I mean, I've only watched it a couple times, but it wasn't anything amazing. There were some I was surprised that the greenness of some of the talent. Maybe that's the mandate of the show. I don't really know, but there was a few matches that I've seen that were clearly very, very new talent to wrestling, it seemed like. But anyways.
So you remember, I think it was last week when MVP blew out his knee in the tag match. So John Morrison's also out of action with a knee injury that he suffered in a match with Matt Riddle on this past week's Raw. And I'm not saying it's Riddle's fault, because it's probably not, but he's been involved in both of those matches. I don't think either was his fault, but I'm just saying that's kind of interesting.
Well, it's almost as if you focus on like 40-year-old athletes instead of 25-year-old athletes. They're a little bit more prone to injury. Shocking. So that might be another one of the drawbacks of
doesn't sound right.
Of never focusing on anyone young, right? They're a little, as somebody over 40, I can tell you, I felt like after about 36 years old, especially my legs, right, as you witnessed, started to go pretty quickly. So there is a difference, and that's one of the dangers of focusing so much on the very experienced talent, I guess.
Yeah. And Drew McIntyre set to return on next week's Raw.
He's been gone?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, he just wasn't on this week's.
Oh, okay.
After the pay-per-view.
Clearly I've missed him.
It's kind of coincidental that there's also a title match next week, so I'm wondering if Miz retains via shenanigans.
That's kind of, and then loses at Fastlane for good, maybe, and then the chase is on.
Or there's some triple threat match where he's once again a third wheel in his own main event.
I still feel like, and again, I don't watch much of it, but I feel like the right route to go is get the belt on Lashley and have Drew chase it to Mania. That seems to make sense.
Lashley is losing.
Yeah, but at least he gets his run, and he has his name in the sort of, his hat is in the ring for a main event spots, and maybe they'll put him back there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Anything else?
No.
All right. Well, that wraps up news and rumors and brings us into our first sort of in-depth review each week, and that is our AEW Dynamite review.
Yes. So, we started a little different this week because we start with Jon Moxley versus Ryan Nemeth.
Nemeth is the correct pronunciation. Hey, you correct me on everything I mispronounce, so you get it back.
Yeah. Mox avoids a satellite DT and then a slap by Mox, crossface shots by Mox, back suplex by Mox, hand stomp by Mox, finger rip Pete Dunne style by Mox, corner shoulder block by Nemeth. Mox follows Nemeth to hit a corner clothesline and then a paradigm shift for the win. He grabs a steel chair and sits to cut a promo. Mox says he'll do whatever it takes to get the title back, and he says that's what I'll have to do at Revolution, and then he's talking about what comes to mind when you hear exploding barbed wire death match, and he says he's kind of like addicted to laying it all on the line or whatever.
Yep.
Or just
addiction to wrestling and just
crazy
performing,
person.
Yeah.
He says he can't resist the death match even if it's a trap. Mox says Omega's not the first to try to take him out. Doy, he was champion for like almost a year.
Right.
And Mox says win, lose, or draw, he'll give everything. And he says the death match will be one hell of a way to go out.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I must not have, I don't know if I was making coffee or something, because all my notes were brief guillotine and paradigm shift kind of out of nowhere. The match itself, I thought, was all it needed to be, right? Nemeth got a couple moves in and nothing more, which is sometimes my complaint, right? Like the major undercard guys get a bit too much shine sometimes against some of the established stars. So I kind of like that he didn't really hear. Mox sort of, I think, is trying to transition into a more violent whatever for this match coming up by going after the fingers, right? He was snapping Nemeth's fingers, I think, during this match, kind of for no reason, right? So I think it's just sort of he's getting more violent heading into this death match. The promo was good, but he was, and I don't have a problem with this, I'm just saying, he was being way more of a babyface and almost like pandering to the fans here. And I think that makes sense because Omega has been built to be such a crazy strong heel that Mox is sort of leaning into being a babyface, a more babyface than normal for this match. And that makes sense because it'll be such a strong contrast between his babyface work and the heel Omega, and Callis will obviously be there too, I think. I like that he acknowledged it might be a setup and that he doesn't care, because that does seem like something he should acknowledge, right? There is a decent chance there's going to be more people involved in this than just Kenny Omega. And he's saying that I realize that and I don't really care, which I thought another like excellent intense promo from the guy that does this every week. I don't really care about this stipulation in itself. The death exploding whatever barbed wire death match doesn't really appeal to me, but I trust that these two wrestlers are going to entertain me, so that I'm on board for it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm still confused with the stipulation. Like, I understand it, but I'm just not sure how it's gonna go. But I thought this was a really weird way to start the show, because usually they start with like a hot opener,
You're
right?
Yep.
But this was just a squash match, and it was fine, and the promo was good. From Mox as usual. You did a good job building the show. Still, this wasn't like a bad way to start to the show. It just was different.
It's like you know how I complain about shows starting out with a promo or some giant in-ring non-wrestling segment? It's kind of like they found a loophole around that, right? Because it's technically a match leading into a long promo in the ring, but the match was pretty much a squash.
Yeah.
So it's better than just going straight into a lengthy in-ring talking segment, even though Mox is really good at them. So yeah, it definitely wasn't the hot opener that we've kind of gotten used to. You're right, for sure.
Yeah. And next we got a Mox versus Omega hype package. It actually reminds us that Mox debuted, attacked Omega and also Jericho, but mostly Omega. It reminds us of their original feud in the Lights Out match, and then also Winter's Coming. I thought this was a good package because it just shows all their history and shows like they've basically had their history basically goes back to Mox's entire tenure in the company.
Right.
And more so Omega's, because it was, I think, the first pay-per-view, right? So
I don't know what I was doing. I have 0 notes on that. It's like this is brand new information to me somehow.
But so basically they've kind of been feuding since the beginning of AEW, more or less.
Yeah. There's been off and on, right? Little bits. Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was a good package. Again, for anyone who forgot, it's
Right.
probably helpful.
I always appreciate the ones reminding me of history of things, especially if it's at all distant history.
So then we get Lance Archer and Rey Fenix interview. I think it's from...
This is where I was paying attention
earlier
again.
today or earlier on the night or the previous week.
Yep.
I don't remember when it was supposedly taking place.
Previously is all we need to say.
They're facing off in tonight. Okay, I think it was maybe earlier, but anyways, they're facing off in tonight's main event, or the night's main event, to gain entry into the Revolution ladder match. And the interviewer mentions the already announced entrants, Cody, Scorpio Sky, and Penta. Archer says they were a good team because of him, and kicks Phoenix's arse.
Yep.
And Phoenix says Archer's the worst partner he's ever had, and they have a brief brawl, and then the segment ends.
So I kind of liked it because Archer was clearly being heelish here, which I much prefer. I really struggle to see him doing anything like babyface or babyface adjacent. I just don't find it super believable. So I'm glad it looks like he's still a heel. I was honestly afraid they were going to start working together as a tag team. When I saw them standing there together, I'm like, oh no, is this them sort of deciding to take a match together and this is a possible tag team? Because I think Phoenix is just a star and he doesn't need to be in a tag team at this point. So yeah, I was happy.
Unless it's with Penta.
I was happy with this development. The segment itself wasn't anything amazing, but I'm happy that Archer hopefully is back to embracing being a heel.
Yeah. It was good, and it should be a good match. So next we get Team Taz, which is Starks and Cage versus the Varsity Blondes.
Who you are not fans of, or a fan of, but I'm sort of...
Not really.
They're growing on me a little bit.
Fine. Starks and Pillman start the match. Holds and counters, and Garrison gets the tag. Arm hold being applied. Pillman tags back in and continues the hold. A wrecking ball draw quick by Pillman, and then a He-Stroll pin in the ring for 2. Starks counters a springboard move, and Cage powerbombs Pillman in the ring post while Starks distracts the ref. Strikes by Pillman, a top rope dropkick for 2 by Starks, isolation offense and frequent tags by Team Taz, so they're kind of tagging in and out. Garrison gets a hot tag, a boot to Cage, corner splash to Starks, and a big dive over the top rope to Cage. Belly to back face buster by Garrison, but Cage breaks the pin. A springboard clothesline on Cage by Pillman. Dropkick powerbomb, which looked pretty cool, by the Varsity Blondes for a 2 count. Cage gets a blind tag, a spear by Starks to Garrison, and Cage gets a drill claw to Pillman for the win.
I love
Team
the drill
Taz
claw.
get the win. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Drill claw is
Suplex
crazy.
pile driver.
I really enjoyed this quick match. I thought the Blondes, especially Garrison, looked pretty good. And Starks and Cage each got to hit their signature moves, right, and pick up a clean win. So I think this match...
I kind of wish we got Rochambeau, but...
I think this match did its job, although I'm definitely now in the camp of I don't like Starks in this group. I like Starks, but I don't think he fits in Team Taz. I want him out and Layla Hirsch in. I just think they should be a bunch of like killers, and Starks is like a flashy. I don't know. He just doesn't fit in with that group.
And he can talk for himself.
He absolutely can talk for himself. He doesn't need Taz. So I like the match. The Blondes are actually growing on me. I think Garrison, you're gonna see a lot more of him going forward. I have a feeling. So I thought this was a pretty fun little match. You?
I'll talk about that in a sec, but we just got a brief aftermath. So Sting comes out after a Tron video with Hook in a body bag. So that's fine. It's not as funny as Darby being in a body bag, but still. So then Darby Allin ziplines in and attacks them. Sting attacks Cage, and Allin dies on Starks. Stinger splash and a Scorpion Death Drop to Cage. And then that's over. So then I thought the match was surprisingly good. Actually, the Varsity Blondes are improving greatly.
Yeah, welcome
and are
aboard.
Getting close to Dynamite winning worthy. Like, I think for now they should keep, if they're going to be on Dynamite, I think they should be losing. But I
agree.
They're almost to the point where, like, I'd be fine with them winning, like against Top Flight, maybe.
Yep, losing but looking good like they did here. Yeah.
Yeah. Team Taz could have maybe a bit more dominance in the match, but I still thought they looked good. I think Cage could have done a little more because he's sick, but the match was still pretty good. Aftermath was whatever. Darby's ziplining was risky and unnecessary, but I guess fine.
I struggled with it because it looked really similar to when I watched a man die in the ring, and I don't really need to see it again. It made
especially when it's Darby Allin. Could you imagine?
A little bit uncomfortable, and also the point for me is it's pointless. It'd be way faster and to just run down there. Like or
skateboard down.
There was no reason for it. It's an unnecessary risk. It made me a bit uncomfortable, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also did not enjoy Cage getting owned by an old man.
I didn't love that the focus became Sting in the center of the ring, hitting his offense to Cage, while Allin is outside the ring, nowhere to be seen.
Right, and like, how is Cage really getting owned by an old man wearing face paint?
Yeah, so it wasn't in theory, he had a competitive match and is tired or whatever, but anyways,
he's big, muscular, not old person.
True. I was not a fan of the segment. I think it was just designed to make Sting look good and sort of Allin...
Which is not what they should be trying to do.
And Allin was sort of pushed to the side, which I don't like. And again, the zipline entrance seemed pointless to me.
Yep. Next we get a Miro and Kip Sabian interview.
Yep.
Kip talks about how the wedding was ruined. Miro says they couldn't have even had a honeymoon, or they couldn't even have a honeymoon because the wedding was ruined by Charles and Cassie. Miro says Charles is a good guy and he can come back. Why would he want to?
I don't understand. Anyways, I'll get into it. Go ahead. Finish your description.
A note from Charles and Cassie to challenge the heels to a Revolution match. Miro calls Charles and Cassidy children. This was fine. I didn't care.
This made virtually no sense to me. The only thing that entertained me at all was the final 3 seconds where Miro got super intense and chewed up the note and then spit it out. That's what he needs to do. I think
chew up notes,
but be intense and angry. Don't try and be amusing and whatever, because it's not working. Why would Chuck ever consider returning to this group? I don't understand.
He wasn't even like willingly there in the first place,
and it's not like he did anything for. I don't know. Anyways, this I thought again, and I don't mean to keep piling on Miro and Sabian and Penelope because she's sort of guilty by association. But how is this still going on? How has AEW been something this bad on TV for so long now? I really think this is a miss, and I know I say it all the time. It feels like when they signed Miro, they gave him carte blanche to do what he wants, and this is what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, they need to like sit down with him and say like, this isn't what we need to be doing. This is pretty much panned by everyone I listen to every week after we're done. I don't see people liking this angle. I don't see people saying it's getting better. I don't know what it's doing. Anyways, that's all I have to say about it.
Aside from Jimmy Havoc being apparently not a great human being, I like the Super Bad Death Squad better than this.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, because they actually, I remember them having like a decent no DQ match against somebody.
And I think Miro just doesn't want to be like the monster that he should be. He thinks he, should be a little more diverse and be funny and be this and be that, but it doesn't work. It's not
Yeah.
working the way you're doing it. Just be a killer for a little while, and then sort of like with Rusev, right? The entertainment comedy part kind of came accidentally as he was doing Rusev, and Rusev Day came up, right? It wasn't something that they forced and wrote and sort of had to, it kind of happened organically, as they say.
Right.
And this feels like they're forcing it, and it's not good.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I thought this was kind of boring and unnecessary. Mira going on and on about how Chuck can come back was kind of funny at first because it's like kind of a joke, but then like it felt like he was like actually serious
Yes,
about it, and then it felt stupid.
I agree. I was scanning for sarcasm and like smart aleckiness, and I was like, no, I don't think it is.
Because like Chuck never wanted to be there in the first place. Also, I am realizing now I accidentally wrote Chusk. But yeah, so I don't know. That was just kind of stupid.
And if the point was to be sarcastic and whatever, then that's on Miro too, right? Because his delivery didn't get across. If that was supposed to be him being sarcastic, like, yeah, you can come back and clean my shoes and scrub my toilets, it didn't come across that way.
Yeah, it just was not great.
Anyways.
Next we get Jake Hager versus Brandon Cutler.
Yes, we do.
And I'd just like to say this match has been building for a while now. It's a dream match in the making. I'm very excited. I've been waiting so long for this.
I'm sensing some sarcasm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So corner shots by Cutler. Wheelbarrow suplex by Hager, which looks pretty cool.
I do like a wheelbarrow suplex.
He hits another.
He did
Big
deadlift.
Big boot by Hager. Swagger bomb by Hager. Low bridge and then a suicide dive by Cutler. Cutler falls with a tope con hero. Cutler is caught with a slam. A big clothesline by Hager for the win. Take notes, Brian Myers.
It's exact, because as we were watching this, Jack said that out loud, and I had literally already typed in take notes, and I was about to finish with Brian Myers.
It was a clothesline from hell.
It was a nice clothesline. Much better than Brian Myers. You are completely correct.
That's why JBL used it as a finisher. Like, his was good.
Yeah.
I think if Mox really wanted to, he could as well, because he's got some pretty insane clotheslines, as we've seen. Right?
He does.
So I think he could do it if he wanted to, but...
What did you think? I don't know. There's stuff going on after this.
Yeah,
I thought you might want to cover
that. So Proud and Powerful come to beat up Cutler more, and then Young Bucks super kick them. Hager escapes the ring. Promo from Matt Jackson.
Yep.
He does the classic babyface spiel. We don't have to wait till the pay-per-view or wherever.
We can do this right now.
Match. We can do it right now.
Yeah.
And then Jericho's music plays, but then Jericho and MJF are on Tron. Jericho says, why would they waste their time coming out when they have an upcoming match? And then they reveal a bloodied Papa Buck, because the Buck's parents were here earlier. They ram him into the truck with the Bucks' faces on it, which is funny, because then it made it look like there's blood on the Bucks' faces on the truck.
It did, yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny. And then Jericho, when they come backstage to chase them, Jericho and MJF are waiting in the car. Then Matt starts running after the car, and then the car starts driving.
Yes.
Which I thought was funny, because they're just like, they're waiting there. And then when they see them coming, they drive away because they know you can't catch them. So which I thought was really funny.
It was sort of like another kidnapping, right? That we've got kidnapping is running rampant through wrestling right
but
now.
I just thought that's funny that they're like waiting to taunt him and then they run away, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's makes sense for the kind of characters there.
I thought the match was whatever. It was kind of a squash, and it was not needed at all, because it literally stemmed from a brawl or whatever last week, I think it was. A brief confrontation in a brawl, albeit. Jericho and MJF did a good job of continuing to build this match, but I think they could have done this in a different way.
Yeah, so it was kind of the second match for no reason, like the second nothing match that leads to the segment afterwards, right? Already in this show, we've got Mox doing it, and we've got Hager doing it here.
Right.
And this kind of felt to me like WCW Nitro, like an NWO thing. And especially, it just flashes me back with Tony on commentary as well, right? I'm not sure how I feel about it. I guess it's the standard heel tactic of kidnapping the dad and whatever to get a rise out of it. I don't know. It's not very original, and I didn't think it was great. And it's feeling very WCW to me. At this point.
It was just, I don't think they needed the
And it was, again, just another match that wasn't necessary to get to the angle afterwards. And at some weeks, I feel like that kind of thing is happening a bit too much on Dynamite right now.
From weakness to oh my god weakness. Cargill and Shaq versus Cody and Red Velvet package.
And before that, if I may interrupt you.
Yeah.
AEW did something that I loathe, that I don't know if they've done it before. They came back from the commercial or whatever and did the moments ago recap.
Oh, yeah.
That WWE always does, and I hate it because we're watching the show. Stop filling your show that I enjoy with stuff from moments ago that we all watched. Please stop doing this. You guys don't do it a lot yet. Please don't do this. Anyways, carry on.
Yeah, so we get the Cargill and Shaq versus Cody and Velvet package. And so I didn't take specific notes on this, but I just got a general blurb about it.
Me too.
So Cargill and Shaq's motif makes 0 sense, and keep in mind, we still don't know why they're aligned, so, yeah. Cody said he was a giant killer, and
Once.
Shaq and Jay took offense. Yeah, he said that,
One time.
or, a couple times, whatever.
I don't even know if it was a couple.
Well, he said it 1 or 2 times, not that much.
It's not a part of his character. It's not an established thing for him.
And why wouldn't they? Cody was obviously talking about wrestlers and retired basketball players. Sarcasm, obviously. This whole thing is stupid. He's clearly talking about wrestlers. I wouldn't be surprised if Brody Lee took offense, or Lance Archer took offense, or Butcher, or Cage, or somebody that makes sense. But Shaquille O'Neal, what the hell? He's nothing to do with wrestling at all. So why on earth would he take offense? And also, now, the Paul White signing is just awful, because guess what? Paul White's making his debut this Monday, and guess what? Shaq's making his debut this Wednesday. So guess what? Big Show's going to be in AEW at the perfect time for this Shaq match, and we all know that they have a bit of history, so I cannot stress enough how dumb and nonsensical this is.
Yeah, I mean, this package was slick and well produced, I guess, is the nicest thing I can say.
The whole thing is stupid.
But I still couldn't really care less, right? They're going to try to convince us even in this package that Shaq and Jade are the favorites, and JR actually predicts that they will
they're
win.
Big and
right? Who I guess, I don't know. Honestly,
because there's so much wrestling experience.
Honestly, it's carrying on this theme for me. I got more WCW vibes here because this is an NBA player coming to wrestle, and the constant.
Oh yeah, what was it? Rodman and
Mailman Karl Malone.
Yeah.
And the constant reminders and hype from the commentary team about how important this insignificant storyline is starting to irritate me. But that's just me.
Yeah, this is
I thought things picked up a little bit next, so we can talk about something I actually like next.
So we got Hangman Adam Page versus Private Party's Isaiah Cassidy. Page has been able to have some amazing TV matches against some lower card talent, notably tag team people, so this should be good. I trust him.
Yep.
Hangman tries to boot Hardy right away, who was on the apron, but then Cassidy is able to attack. Hangman fights back and gets some corner stomps in, following slam and a kip up by Hangman. Corner rebound clothesline by Hangman. He's in the corner, kind of comes blasting out with the clothesline.
Yep.
Hangman catches a dive with the boot. Slingshot plancha by Hangman to the outside, and then he breaks the count. Cassidy sent to the barricade, and then he's sent over with a clothesline. Hangman breaks the count again, and Cassidy's once again sent into the barricade. Chopped by Hangman. Cassidy avoids a powerbomb and then runs into the ring. TH2 are also at ringside, distract the ref, and Hardy helps Cassidy take control of the match. Silver and Reynolds then come to get Matt Hardy ejected, which is successful. Corner stomps by Cassidy. Hangman counters an arm wrench and pulls Cassidy into the rope, which I thought was cool. Kind of pulled his face into the rope.
Yes.
Cassidy tries to prevent a buckshot, but eats a boot. Forearm by Cassidy. Big rolling elbow for 2 by Hangman.
Really big.
Yeah, looked pretty cool.
Looked awesome.
You couldn't even tell that it was a rolling elbow, but you could kind of only see the forearm, but still looked really good.
Yep.
Tornado kick counter by Cassidy. Hangman catches Cassidy with the Death Valley driver. Corner clothesline by Hangman. Hangman counters a suplex into a brainbuster for 2. Pump kick and enziguri by Cassidy. Poison Rana by Cassidy. Hangman gets a rope break on an armbar. Springboard clothesline is countered into an arm wrench over the rope by Cassidy. Heyman catches a springboard destroyer and returns the Deadeye pile driver for the win, which is pretty cool. Post-match promo from Hardy says Hangman betrayed him and he'll hurt Hangman and the Dark Order, and then he throws 5 of all people through the Timekeeper's table and runs away.
5 who's only there to take bumps, generally.
Yes.
He did. This match over-delivered for me, and I thought it was kind of cool to see Isaiah Cassidy slow down a bit and not just do crazy high-flying stuff, but actually like wrestle a little bit. I'm sure the fact that he's wrestling Paige played a huge role in making him look this good, because I think Paige is just one of those guys, right? He can wrestle anyone, anytime, any style, and sort of make it look good. So I enjoyed this match, even though the outcome was never really in doubt, and I can't say that I'm a huge fan of Isaiah Cassidy, but I thought he looked good here, and so did Paige, obviously. What did you think?
So I thought it was good. It was good, but I thought some of Hangman's other matches that were similar to this were a little better.
Sure. I like the secondary finisher too. Like, I don't even need the buckshot.
Yeah.
For
Hardy threatening the Dark Order is interesting, and also Hangman's dynamic with them is interesting as well.
I like the Hangman Dark Order stuff I do find interesting. Yep.
So next we get Kenny Omega, and he and Callis are constructing the Moxley Extermination Chamber, and he says, if you want something done, do it yourself. I didn't get much of this. It was just like a lot going on.
Well, and part of it was there was a lot of background noise because they're in like a metal shop and there's all kinds of whatever going on, right? And I thought this was the weakest one of Omega's of these type of promos. It was really short, but I thought it was the weakest of these kind of funny Omega as a heel with Callis segments. This one didn't do much for me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what they're doing, but nothing really much to talk about in that, I guess.
No, I couldn't really hear what they were saying. They didn't say much other than like he wants to be a part of building the structure that takes out Moxley.
Yeah. I remember that.
Is basically what I got from it.
So we get a women's tournament update. So on the Japan side, Yuka Sakazaki advances and Ryo Mizunami advances as well. And then we're going to get on the American side, Thunder Rosa versus Ryo, and then the Japan final, which is Sakazaki versus Mizunami on a Bleach Report thing tomorrow now. So.
And we are way behind on that, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but they keep updating us, so.
I know, but I was hoping to find time to watch them, but so far I haven't. Maybe. I might go back to it at some point.
Yeah. So next we get, speaking of the tournament, U.S. side semifinal. Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose.
And I let you know that this was the segment that got the highest ratings this week on
which Dynamite. I find confusing and also sad.
Why?
Because, the match was fine, but it's just kind of, weird.
Oh, I don't know. I was okay
anyways, holds encounters body slams by Rose, multiple. Baker rolls out and walks away and throws a fit. Baker rolls back in and hits a boot. Samoan drop by Rose, slap and a gorilla press drop by Rose. Baker yanks Rose's arm first into the post, which was pretty cool. Baker traps Rose's arm in the barricade and kicks the barricade, which I thought was also kind of clever.
Yep.
Was superplexed by Rose, but Baker suplexes Rose in the corner after a roll through. Clotheslines by Rose. Reba distracts and is taken out with a Niranagi on the apron, which is a good bump for her.
Hardest spot of the ring, buddy.
Yes. Hanging neckbreaker for 2 by Rose. Pump kick by Baker. Chokeslam by Rose. Reba gets in to interfere but takes a cannonball. Baker gets in the lockjaw, but Rose powers out with a cool kind of slam. I don't really know what it was, but it was cool. A small package pin for 2 by Baker. 2 thrust kicks by Baker. A crucifix bomb in for 2, and then into the lockjaw by Baker. And Rose gets out and hits a beast bomb for near fall. Rose ducks a thrust kick to hit another beast bomb for the win, and Nyla Rose advances.
I was a little surprised by the outcome because it seems like Baker's been getting a lot more attention lately than Nyla, but I thought it was a pretty good match. It got lots of time. Maybe Britt is moving on to do other things, I guess. I don't know if she's carrying on with Thunder Rosa or what's happening, but I thought it was a solid match by both of these women.
Yeah, I thought the match was solid, but it was just I don't know, nothing much. And I felt the heel-on-heel dynamic just was kind of weird, but the match was still fine. I like the beast bombs were pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I was also surprised with the outcome because, what has Nyla Rose been doing lately?
Yes.
But still a fine match.
It almost makes me wonder if like this tournament isn't a major focus, right? And that Britt has more important things to do. But you're right, the heel dynamic was a little bit odd.
Right, and the match felt like not necessarily slow, but not that action-packed.
And I think they're trying to complement Britt by having her take 2 beast bombs, right, to be defeated. It wasn't like just a single one did it. So I guess that was an attempt to sort of have her save face a little bit.
So we get an FTR versus Jurassic Express promo package. This was pretty fast-paced, so I didn't get a lot of details, but both teams were cutting some great promos in this.
Yeah, it was a back and forth, right?
And the match should be really good as long as Tully doesn't do too much.
Well, the bulk of this promo, I didn't like jot down specifics, but the gist of it was that they spent a lot of time trying to build up Tully as a threat still in the ring, which I'm not sure I believe it, but the package was cool. And I tend to like that style where they go back and forth between the heels and the faces, right, in the same sort of promo package.
Yeah, so that match is going to be next week. A Chris Jericho and MJF Revolution press conference will be next week, and I'm very excited for that. I trust them.
Yep.
That should be really good. Tony Schiavone and Paul White Dark Elevation announce team on Monday, and maybe we'll check that if we have time, just to see what's
it's an hour,
up.
right? So maybe.
Yeah. Shaquille O'Neal and Jade Cargill versus Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet next week.
Match of the year candidate. So write it down. Put it in our notes.
Yeah, I guess. I really don't want to watch that.
Well, we're going to.
Yeah, I know. Dark Order, which is Uno, Grayson, Silver, and Reynolds. Uno, Grayson, Silver, Reynolds, and 5, versus Hardy Party and TH2 next week. So that's Matt Hardy, Cassidy, Quinn, and then TH2.
That could be fun.
Yeah. Again, they're pretty good at multi-man tags.
They sure are.
10 versus Max Caster. Okay.
Interesting.
A ladder match qualifier next week, so I guess that's... But, like, why them? Like, I mean... It's just kind of weird.
What were the details of the ladder match? I wrote down that Jack's going to explain it, and then I didn't. Like, what
details?
Like, what is it for? They're just...
TNT title match.
Oh, it is? Okay.
I found it weird it's not for a world title match, but...
I wasn't even sure if it was for contendership or for no reason. Like, I kind of missed what it was for.
It would have to be for a reason.
I figured. I just didn't know what it was offhand.
So Revolution matches are advertised, including Shida will be defending her title against the tournament winner. A tag team Casino Royale, which is a new thing that's been added, so that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that looks cool too.
So Butcher and Blade, Proud and Powerful, Private Party, Top Flight, Grayson and Uno, Silver and Reynolds, and maybe that Bear Country team.
Yeah, it looked like they were in the picture, right?
Yeah, and couldn't even tell who it was. Exactly. A lot of heel teams in there, but I'm sure more will be in there.
And it's another evidence of how stacked that division is, right? It's not even any of the real top ones, to be honest.
Yeah, they don't even have Lucha Bros in there.
Right.
Or they need to put in Jurassic Express, because Luchasaurus
is cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also Miro and Sabian versus Chuck and Orange Cassidy. So, yeah.
I guess.
Lance Archer versus Rey Fenix, our main event, which is a Revolution ladder match qualifier. So Archer shoves Phoenix at the start of the match. Chop by Phoenix. The rope spin heel kick misses.
There was something sloppy. I didn't get specifics, but
and they
Archer
had to,
was sloppy to start, and they had to redo something. Basically,
I don't remember what it was because I don't think I
either.
made a specific note for it. But mid rope Hurricanrana by Phoenix. Low bridge by Phoenix, and then a mid rope tope by Phoenix. Roberts pulls Phoenix off of the top rope as ref is distracted by Archer, and he's on the stage. Then Phoenix dives over Roberts onto Archer, which is cool. Overhand chop by Phoenix, chop over the barricade by Archer, so he kind of sends him over. Chops by Phoenix post-commercial break. Chop exchange briefly. Archer catches a springboard, but Phoenix is able to get out of the chokeslam attempt. A big lariat by Archer. Phoenix is sent hard into the barricade and then sent into it again.
Phoenix did a great sell of that clothesline on the apron I made a note of. I thought it looked awesome.
Cannonball into the barricade by Archer, which is pretty cool. A release suplex in the ring by Archer. Phoenix is able to escape the blackout, though, and shoves Archer in the corner and hits a 619 to the gut, which I thought was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
A diving fist stomp to the back by Phoenix for a 2 count. A German suplex by Archer. Rope walk into the moonsault for 2 by Archer.
Yeah, he brought the moonsault back instead of the clothesline. I appreciated that.
I wouldn't even call it a clothesline. It's just hitting him on the back.
It looks way more impressive, obviously.
Chops by Phoenix. A corner running back elbow by Archer. Phoenix counters the second one, though. Damagiri by Phoenix. A rope walk kick by Phoenix, which always looks cool. Gets a 2 count off of that. Backflip rolling into the Cutter for 2 by Phoenix. A Fisherman Buster by Archer for a 2 count. Avalanche Spanish Fly for near fall by Phoenix, which is pretty cool.
It was.
Kicks and Strikes by Phoenix, but then he's hit with a pounce from Archer. A Buckle Bomb by Archer, followed by a Choke Slam for 2. And then he's able to get the blackout, which looked pretty cool because Phoenix just goes way up in the air and he gets the win. So Archer is able to qualify for the Face of the Revolution ladder match.
Yeah, again, this seems to be my trend in main events lately. They've been underwhelming, I would say. So I thought this was decent, but I didn't think it was great, and I was a little bit underwhelmed. They were out of sync to start, and then I felt like Archer was in control. When you go over the match, it sounds like he hits a ton of big moves because we sort of gloss over all of the punch, kick stuff. But I felt like he was in control for a long time, and a lot of it was just basic big man offense. And then he started near the end getting some suplexes and the moonsault and some more impressive offense. Phoenix sold his butt off, I thought, and made this more interesting. But he didn't get near enough time on offense for me because I just love this guy and would watch him on offense all day. The final few minutes of this were really good, but I didn't find the beginning parts were, and I was a little bit underwhelmed and was hoping for more. And also, I'd never like to see Phoenix lose because I think he should be a megastar for them.
Yeah.
You?
The same goes for Penta because Penta's sick.
Yep.
Match was good, but I kind of expect more from these guys, similar to what you were saying.
Exactly.
They're both in weird spots right now, and I think that doesn't really help.
You're
so
right.
It might not be entirely their fault.
You're right.
They're both really meant to play heels right now, I think. But after the whole Eddie Kingston thing, they were kind of like those tweeners where you didn't really know what to do along with the rest of the Death Triangle, because you're not gonna cheer for Eddie Kingston.
I have trouble seeing Phoenix as a heel when he doesn't speak, and then when he does that offense, right? It's just not. I don't know that.
Yeah, I think
it's hard not to cheer for that offense.
I think when he's teaming with Penta, though,
Penta definitely pulls off being a heel way better than Phoenix.
I think
does.
Phoenix could. I think maybe not as good as being face, but I think there's potential. I think if Lucha Bros. I think the match was good, but I think there's some slow bits, and Phoenix should have had some more crazy sprints and maybe some more offense. But overall, I still thought it was good.
Me too. I'm not saying it was bad. It's just this is an AEW Dynamite main event, right? And it should just be, some of them leave me breathless, and I'm just like, man, that's a pay-per-view quality main event, right? And this definitely wasn't that for me. Not that it was bad though. And again, the last few minutes there that leading to the pinfall, I thought was really good. It's just the rest of it wasn't up to that speed for me.
Right.
Overall thoughts?
So the show overall was kind of a low one for me, but still not terrible.
Yep.
The show started fine, but unusually because we started with just a simple squash match and then a Mox promo. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it's nowhere near as good as a multi-man tag or Hangman Page match or some hot opener, but still better than Raw, but that's such a low bar.
Yes.
Varsity Bonds vs. Team Taz was one of my highlights, and the Varsity Bonds are improving pretty well. Hangman Cassidy was good, but I expected a little better. But at least the storyline surrounding is still really interesting. Bacon Rose was fine, but felt random despite it being a tournament match. Heel versus heel dynamic was weird, didn't really help. The wedding promo, Shaq and Jade package thing, and the whole Sting segment were low points for me and dragged the show a bit. But on the plus side, the Mox and Omega package was good. The FTR Jurassic Express package was good. MJF and Jericho's a little bit was kind of funny. And Revolution seems to be shaping up to be a good show. Show was fine, but a lower one for me, so I'd say a B-.
Interesting. And it's funny because we keep telling people we don't really talk about this. Like, yes, we watch all the wrestling together, but we sit there on our laptops.
Specifically go out of our way not to do that.
Yeah, like there might be the odd thing that we just talk about in the moment, but I would say like 95% of this stuff we don't discuss before we sit down here and talk about it. So at the risk of repeating what you just said, here we go. I was pleasantly surprised by the Paige Cassidy match. I enjoyed the women's match. I enjoyed the Team Taz Blondes match. The main event underwhelmed me, but wasn't bad. The Hager Cutler, along with the opening Mox squash, were really nothing. Mox cut a good promo, and I liked the FTR package. But there was a stretch in this show, and you were talking about it too. We had the Sting segment, followed by Miro segment, followed by the Hager match, followed by the Cargill package. That's a slog for me, and that's not something that Dynamite generally does, like putting 4 or 5 segments, unimpressive segments, back to back. So there was a definite lull at that point in the show for me. Kenny's segment was among the weakest since his heel turn as well. So I gave this show a B and wasn't super impressed, but it was still decent. So I would say we were pretty much on the same page there. And
that's funny.
I have no problem with you giving it a B- because I was close to doing that as well. So a decent show, but not up to AEW standards. I think we would agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up that one, and we'll move into our little break between Wednesday night shows, and that's the trivia section that we like to call Off the Top of His Head.
Yeah.
So this week, it's sort of random trivia again. It's taken from a different WWE trivia-based product this week. So it's not the board game from 1999.
Oh, the thing I gave you?
Yep, that I've used a couple times, but instead it's a WWE pop quiz trivia deck.
Yeah, I got it for Christmas, I think, once. It's pretty cool.
Published in 2019, so there should be some more recent questions.
Yeah,
Hopefully
it's one
they're
of those things where they kind of flip out, and there's the cards, multiple questions, and then multiple answers.
Yep. So
it's similar to the Attitude Era thing.
So what I did, there's 5 questions per card,
right.
And I simply am going to read every question on the first 3 cards, because I usually do about 15 questions, and we'll see how you do.
I've done it before, but I think that was when I first got it, so it's been like a
years.
while.
So the 1999 ones, I was sort of picking and choosing stuff that I thought you might have a chance with or whatever, and mixing it up. This one, I'm like, let's just take all 15 of the first 15 questions and see how you do. Okay.
All right.
I think maybe a couple questions have come up before in Off the Top of His Head, but I'm not willing to go back.
That happens.
Not willing to go back and check, so I apologize if there are duplicates. Ready? Number 1. Who was the Ministry's higher power?
Vince McMahon.
Correct.
It was me, Austin. It was me all along.
It's Mr. McMahon at that time.
Okay.
Who threw in the towel for Bret Hart when he lost the WWE Championship in a submission match to Bob Backlund at Survivor Series 1994?
Helen Hart.
Thank you for letting me finish the question, because I knew you knew that one.
Persuaded by Owen Hart.
Right. Who defeated Jerry Lawler in a Kiss My Foot match at King of the Ring 1995?
Oh, I wonder. Bret Hart.
Correct. Who acted as the special guest referee for Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at WrestleMania 20?
Steve Austin.
Dang it, these are all too easy. How about this one? Which heavy metal legend managed the British Bulldogs at WrestleMania 2? There we go.
Alice Cooper?
No, but kind of in the right area for sure. Anyone else that you would know? He had a reality show later that I don't think you saw either. Anyways, it was Ozzy Osbourne. I don't even know if you know who that is.
I barely do.
If you get this wrong, you're out of the family. Who was the first NXT champion?
Seth Rollins.
Correct. This one I thought was one of the harder ones. Who beat Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda for the WWE World Tag Team Championship at the first WrestleMania?
Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik.
Why do you know that?
Because I remember them being a team. Also, that match card's behind me. I didn't have to look, but I just remember.
Oh, it's up there, right? That's true.
Yeah, I didn't actually look at it. I
you
looked
can't
after.
See it from where you are.
Well, I can't really. Yeah.
I'll vouch for
you. But I remember.
I thought that might be one you didn't know. Who cashed in his money in the bank to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 31?
Seth Rollins.
Correct. I was hoping maybe since Rollins was just an answer, you might not get that one. But
I know that one. That's like the best cash in ever.
This one's hard and was correct as of 2019. I hope it's the same. Who holds the record for managing the most WWE Tag Team Champions?
Bobby Heenan?
No, good guess.
Jimmy Hart?
That would have been my guess, but no, according to them.
Freddie Blassie?
No. You're all around the right era, I would say.
Okay, let me think. Slick?
No. Who's got rubber bands in his beard?
Captain Lou Albano?
Correct.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense, actually.
Booker T and Goldust once reviewed which movie from The Rock on Raw?
Scorpion King?
Yeah, why do you know that?
Because I know he was in it around that era.
Good. That's very good logic. Who made his WWE debut?
It's not like they would review Fast and the Furious.
Yes. Who made his WWE debut by coming up from under the ring at the WWE St. Valentine's Day Massacre? I did not remember this.
AEW signing Paul White.
Yeah, I did not remember that this was his debut.
Really?
So what happened when he did that? Do you know?
So it was Austin McMahon in the steel cage match, because remember that's the year McMahon won the Rumble.
Right.
And so he beat up Austin, and then he threw Austin in the wall. The wall swung open, and he was able to get out and then win.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I remember playing them in the 2K16 showcase, and it's just one of those things that everyone talks about.
Here's one you shouldn't know, but which Jersey Shore cast member made her WWE debut at WrestleMania 27?
Snooki?
Correct. For a bonus mark, do you know her real name?
No.
Good.
I forgot.
Yeah, I don't want you to. Nicole Polizzi, apparently.
Oh,
Stephanie,
that sounds right.
Stephanie McMahon defeated which WWE superstar at SummerSlam 2014?
Brie Bella.
Why would you know that?
Because I don't know, I just remember that.
You do remember a lot of things. 2 more. Whom did Brock Lesnar F5 on Raw when he returned in April 2012?
John Cena.
Correct. Last one again, if you get this wrong, I am shocked. The three faces of Foley are?
Cactus Jack, Dude Love, Mankind.
Okay, so these questions seem very easy for you, but maybe
Yeah.
we'll try them again sometime. Good job. You crushed every single one of them, basically, I think.
Except for Ozzy Osbourne.
Right, which I don't know if you've ever even heard of him. So
I've heard of him
sounds reasonable.
once or twice.
All right, well, good job on the trivia section, and that will lead us into going back to the Wednesday Night War and taking a look at our second show from that night, and that is our weekly NXT review. The show starts this week with a promo package for the upcoming Escobar Cross match featuring Scarlett using her deck of tarot cards again as highlights of sort of the feud play, interspersed with shots of her. She talks about obliteration. She does the fall and pray line, among other things. I thought it was a cool package overall, but we talked about it briefly as it happened. Seeing Cross in the final images just in a t-shirt looked weird to me for some reason. I don't know why. I guess he's always been seen topless or whatever, but just...
Or with the cool jacket.
Yeah, this super mega, cool guy that's sort of, beyond wearing normal clothes to me was just rocking a t-shirt, and it just took me out of it for half a second there, but I thought the package itself was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we go from that package straight to a match where Dexter Lumis is in the ring waiting while the Way are shown backstage talking. So it seemed like the gist of it was they were making sure that Austin Theory is okay and isn't too traumatized, as he's going to have to go out to the ring where Lumis is, as Lumis kidnapped him a couple weeks ago. But Theory assures them that he's fine, and they all make their way to the ring. And we do indeed get Johnny Gargano versus Dexter Lumis in a non-title match, which I thought for me was probably spoiling the ending of it. It usually is. Like, they don't go out of their way to make it non-title unless they plan on having the non-champion win. But we'll see what happens. So even during the entrance, Theory is clearly rattled during the Way's sort of finishing up there in the ring because he forgets how to do the Way high five thing. He sort of reaches out the wrong arm instead of the correct one. I think the idea is that he's flustered by being so close to Dexter Lumis, who's kidnapped him in the past. And then as the match starts, Lumis does sort of his slithering around the ring as Gargano backs out to the floor. Lumis follows him out and eventually lands a punch, and then he crawls under the ring. He comes out the other side to surprise Gargano, who I thought looked a little dumb here, right, falling for this, but I guess this is the Gargano we get nowadays. He's easily fooled by this tactic by Dexter Lumis. Then Lumis lands many punches and a Thez press and a double axe handle. So we've talked about this in the past. I think this is sort of the stretch of Lumis's basic borderline boring offense that he sort of mixes in with some more impressive stuff.
Punches and hits and then the odd move, and then he usually starts pretty slow and does his weird creepy slithering or going under the ring, and
and then just as I'm about to get bored with his offense, he'll do a whole bunch of cool stuff, right? It's kind of, I don't know if it's intentional, but I kind of find it interesting. Lumis then hits a delayed vertical suplex, and as he's sort of holding Gargano up, he's trying to escape a couple times, but Lumis is just too strong and keeps lifting him back to a vertical position, which I thought was actually really impressive, just strength-wise. Gargano escapes again to the outside and shoves Lumis into the apron to sort of shift the momentum. Right hands by Johnny, but Lumis dodges a kick and drops Gargano on the apron to regain control. Theory approaches the fray, but sort of backs away from Lumis. It looks like he's going to interfere, but for some reason he doesn't, even though he has a chance. He backs away from Lumis on the outside, and Hartwell is now smiling at Lumis and makes the signal for him to call her.
Which I thought was kind of weird and also stupid.
Just out of the blue, right? Like, she's suddenly attracted to the guy that's kidnapped one of her colleagues. Anyways.
And also is a creep.
Right. Candice gets involved, and although he is the baby face, right? So as weird as that is.
Right.
Candice gets involved and causes a distraction as Gargano lands...
He's kidnapping people and he's a baby face.
Right. Lands a kick and a suicide dive heading into the commercial break. Back from the break with Gargano applying sort of a chin lock as Indy is at ringside and clearly is captivated by Lumis, right? She does a good job of actually putting that forth just through her facial expressions and stuff. You can tell that...
kind of like a teenage girl kind of character.
Exactly. Just sort of captivated by a pop star or something that she's seeing from the front row in a concert sort of thing. That's a pretty fair comparison, I think. We get more right hands from Lumis, followed by a corner clothesline, a bulldog, a slingshot suplex, a belly-to-back suplex, and a leg drop. And again, this is an example of all of a sudden, right, he's ripping off 5 or 6 offensive moves, one linked to the next, and I thought that was pretty cool. And he mixes that in with the basic plodding offense, and then boom, there's
Yeah.
this burst of a flurry of offense that I thought looked
Yeah,
pretty
it's
good.
alright, but I feel like when it's the burst, it's the same stuff. I'll talk about that
Yeah.
later.
Okay. Gargano escape is then countered into a silence, which is then countered by Gargano into a pin attempt for 2. We then get a fairly big spine buster by Loomis for a 2 count. Loomis goes up top and Gargano grabs his foot. Loomis misses a double stomp, but then hits a pop-up uppercut before Gargano lands a super kick for a 2 count. LeRae is up on the apron again to distract the ref as Theory gets a chair, but Loomis sort of steps on the chair as he's bringing it into the ring to stop that. We get an enziguri by Gargano, and the ref checks his leg as Theory is being sort of directed to hit Loomis with the chair. Theory hesitates as Loomis stares at him, and Gargano, sort of surprised by this, comes to rush at Loomis, who sidesteps it, and Gargano ends up knocking Theory off of the apron and onto the floor. Gargano then gets caught in the silence submission and passes out, basically. So
Should be called the silencer.
yeah, I agree.
Just works better.
And Dexter Loomis picks up the victory over the North American champion.
Yeah.
What did you think?
It was fine.
You're not a Loomis fan, so
I not even that though. It's just like even from an in-ring standpoint, I find like he's got that plotting offense and he's got the burst, but like even like that jumping leg drop he did that one time, it was cool. But then like now it's just the same stuff. I find his matches to be not just because I don't like them, but just they're very formulaic. I find.
Yeah.
Like they're basically the same. I don't really like him like, oh, it's a non-title match and so Gargano has to lose kind of thing.
Seemed that way, right? That was my thought.
It's just kind of stupid. Like he should be winning, I think. And I don't think Loomis should be challenging for the title. I don't think he's really like it was kind of like we thought with Kushida.
Yeah.
Before the match, so I don't know.
He's got more character development at least. Well, maybe you don't like the character they developed for him, but at
Yeah.
least they've tried to establish him as something.
It was fine, nothing great.
I thought it was a pretty good match. I do find Loomis much more interesting than you do. His style starts to bore me, and then he has a flurry where I'm interested again.
Sometimes it's cool, then sometimes it's just like, oh, that again.
Yeah, I guess. It's clearly to create something with Loomis and Theory here. It looks like we're going with Stockholm Syndrome. Do you know what that is? I don't know if you know that term. It's basically where, like, the person who's been held captive starts to sort of like their captor over time.
That's weird.
It's sort of seeming that that's what might be happening here because he refused to sort of interfere and hurt Loomis. And also you've got Indy Hartwell starting to be captivated by him. So I don't know where that's going, but I am kind of interested to see. I'm not sure.
I think it just kind of feels like something stupid to me.
At the end of the day, I'm not sure any of this is going to help Johnny, right? Like, I think this is kind of, hey, Johnny,
I don't see how this helps anybody involved.
We've noticed you can do anything, Johnny, so we want you to help out some lower card people and sort of raise their profile a bit, and hopefully that's just temporary. I thought it was an enjoyable opening match. It develops this story, whether I'm super interested in where the story goes or not. I'm not sure, but I always do say I just want things to keep moving, so I guess that's happening at least. William Regal is then out in the parking lot, as we'll see a few times this show, asking a camera operator to let him know when Santos Escobar arrives, because again, Escobar has been ducking Cross lately, right? And if he doesn't show up for this, he's going to be stripped of the Cruiserweight Championship, which is actually what I was hoping for, but it's not what we get. We then get an MSK package where they talk about winning the Dusty Cup. And I thought this was solid babyface stuff about being the same guys they started out years ago and working really hard and having it pay off. They want to be a force in the tag division, and then it sort of transitioned into Wentz, really emotional conversation about his dad and the importance of
Carter.
wrestling. Yes, Carter. In their sort of relationship, his father died, right? And wrestling was a big part of their relationship. So he just sort of decided from that point to become a professional wrestler to honor that sort of thing that they shared together. So I thought that was really cool. It felt very real, and it probably was. I thought this was actually fantastic. They are very smartly building a team that live crowds are going to love when they get a chance, right? I really doubted that NXT would use these guys so well. So far, I'm super happy to be wrong about
good.
that. You liked it as well?
Not just like playing like a character, like, I mean, like that promo they did, I think it was in the Dusty segment or something.
Oh, yeah, their first promo was pretty weak, right?
Yeah, this was good.
Yeah, I like this as well. It felt real, right? Which is what I want, and it was. I was quite captivated. I was a little bit nervous because then they said that they were going to be speaking after this, and I thought, after this really strong like pre-produced package they did, there's no way they're going to look as good speaking. So I really thought that was going to be a bad choice. But so they are about to be interviewed after the commercial, but they immediately get attacked by the grizzled young veterans before they could even speak. So I thought that was smart because, again, having them speak right after that package, I don't think was going to be helpful to them or necessary in any way. And I really think this feud could be awesome because I think the grizzled young veterans are a really strong heel team, and you've now built this super babyface team. And I don't even care. They could have the grizzled young veterans win the titles and have MSK chase them and just prolong this feud if they want.
MSK are challenging though.
I know, but I'm saying they could have, if MSK ends up with the championships, right? You could have grizzled young veterans win it. They could trade it back and forth. I just think you've got really strong heels, really strong faces, and it could be a fun feud. What did you think?
I thought it was good. I agree. I think the promo might have hurt them, but I think that was easily avoided here, which was smart. And I agree. I think the feud potential here is great. I like both of them very much, so I'm just interested to see where it goes.
From what I listened to and read, the jury's kind of out. It's sort of split on the grizzled young veterans. Some people really do not like them at all, and other people do. I think they're really good. I think they're like a throwback kind of classic heel team. I think they're fantastic, to be honest, but that's just me.
I love them.
So then we get a clip from earlier in the day where Malcolm Bivens challenged Leon Ruff to a match.
Kind of like what he did with Kushida.
Yeah, with Tyler Rust.
Almost exactly, really.
So this seems to be what Bivens is doing, right? Like looking for guys that Rust should beat, probably. And it's going to set up the match that's next. So Bivens is in the ring with Rust, and Bivens gets a chance to speak here. He calls Ruff at one point the son he never had that he never wanted, which I thought was kind of funny.
I thought that was pretty funny.
And claims that Leon Ruff going against Rust is an opportunity of a lifetime for Ruff. And then, of course, he had to end with the Diamond and Rust catchphrase that we have
it was so smart
grown tired
of. It's,
I thought his
they use it too much.
I thought his delivery here was fine. Like he can definitely talk. He didn't get much to say here. It was nothing spectacular, but he did a good job delivering it. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, it was fine. I think he's like kind of NXT's equivalent to Paul Heyman, more or less.
Yeah.
Like I think he's pretty good. I don't think he'll be cutting a bad promo anytime soon.
No, that he didn't get much to work with here, but I do like him as a manager. Ruff then comes out, and during his entrance, right,
he does like that rope hang
where he hangs upside down sort of from the ropes facing the crowd as part of his entrance, and so the camera's kind of close to him as he's doing that, and out of nowhere you just see Swerve Scott's foot come and kick him right in the head, and then he grabs him and delivers a pretty cool looking DVD onto the
kind of like
apron.
what he did into the corner at post match last week, but into the apron.
Yeah. Scott, then you could hear him yelling sort of near the commentary team that he wants more opportunities and there should be fewer handouts for Leon Ruff. The crowd boos Scott, who kind of leaves with a smart alecky grin on his face. And Bivens then, which I thought was funny too, he's still in the ring and he raises Russ's hand as if he won the match.
He's like, yeah.
Right? Because
I just like giggled at
he's
that.
a manager, and the bottom line is his guy needs wins. It's all about wins gets him money.
I kind of giggled.
So yeah, that was funny. What did you think of this in general?
I saw the clip of Ruff getting kicked on Instagram already, but I still thought it was really funny. Just the perfect spot.
It was well done.
I thought the one line about the son he never wanted was really funny, and then also like I just liked after he raises it, he's just like and like it's a win for me. Just like, I thought that was really funny.
I like this version of Swerve, right? I like that he's becoming an aggressive heel. I mean,
it works.
It's going to be hard for him as well because, like I said about Phoenix, right? A lot of Swerve's offense is people are going to want to cheer for, but I think he's probably pretty
probably
diverse.
going to be better at working that methodical heel style rather than Phoenix, who's Phoenix.
I do agree with his logic here, though. I agree that there should be less focus on Ruff and more on Swerve.
Yeah, like less handouts for
So
Ruff.
that would suit me just fine. I think Swerve has a lot of potential and he's awesome in the ring, so I hope we get some more attention for him. Mm-hmm. We then get a clip from the previous day showing GM William Regal telling Zoe Stark that she'll face Io Shirai on NXT. And then we get the beginning.
I thought this was weird, because like she was like all happy and whatever. I thought she kind of looked like a heel in her debut match.
And that's funny you say that because I spend a little bit at the end of the match saying that they're clearly presenting her as a face now because I thought the same thing. Like, if not a heel,
she just looked like at least aggressive.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, so it just made her look like kind of a heel,
Yep.
but like
This is them clearing that up.
The
I think, for us.
presentation was different here.
For sure. So Stark starts to have an interview with Mackenzie, but there was some sort of technical issue. I don't know if it was for everyone or just
They
for us in
acknowledged
Canada.
it as well, though.
Oh, they did. Okay, I missed that part.
So I was like, oh, it's not just on our end.
So it basically just cut away from her interview, and we got nothing out of it, right? So we don't really know what happened there. Maybe it was amazing. Maybe promo of the year we missed. Who knows?
Right.
So then we get a backstage video with Cameron Grimes. He's sort of watching the Ted DiBiase video from 30 years ago.
With the kid in the basketball.
Right, where
you all know it.
He offers the kid money to dribble the ball and then knocks it away from him before he gets to the 10th time.
But Grimes does not finish the video.
So no, Grimes watches the video, doesn't finish it. Then he asks a backstage NXT worker if he can dribble the ball 10 times. And the guy actually does it, and Grimes has to pay him money. So now he's angry at himself for not watching the whole video.
He's like, Ted DiBiase's not going to get the better of me.
Right, so now it seems to be everybody thinks they're smarter than him sort of thing. And so I thought this was funny. And I feel like where they're going with this is that he's going to be burning through his money really quickly and in different
He's going to be kind of like the idiotic $1 million man.
Who's going to be not rich really quickly. I think that's what it's going to be. Easy come, easy go. He's quickly a millionaire and then he's going to lose.
He's quickly Cameron Grimes again.
So I think it could be fun.
I think it has great potential.
And he's just a performer, right? He's committed to whatever they give him. So he's all in for this. So I thought this was funny.
Yeah, I really liked it. And there's more later. I really liked it.
Yep. Adam Cole will be on later, and we get a still shot summary of Cole's attack on Kyle O'Reilly, and we are here told that O'Reilly will be out of action for 4 to 6 weeks. Do you know if that's kayfabe or just
probably
actual?
Kayfabe? But I
think
know.
So too.
This was not as funny as the photo shoot thingy.
No, it wasn't.
That was way funny.
No.
It would have been funny if we got I don't know, maybe O'Reilly in the hospital and then
getting attacked there. The bedpan, circa Stone Cold and Vince McMahon.
Maybe. Oh, that'd be funny.
We then do get our Io Shirai and Zoe Stark match. They struggle to gain advantage after the initial tie-up. Shirai eventually applies an abdominal stretch and transitions into a sunset flip and a dropkick. She has her 619 attempt blocked by Stark, but then Shirai stops a charging attack. Shirai climbs up top, but Stark kicks her off the ropes onto the apron and then down to the floor. The match continues with Stark on offense with a sliding knee to the face that I think has looked good 2 weeks in a row now. Shirai avoids a top rope move leading to a double crossbody block to knock both women down momentarily. Stark hits an impressive half and half suplex for a near fall that I liked, and that's a couple times she's done that now too. Shirai gains control with a 619 and a missile dropkick off the top for 2. Shirai then hits a double underhook backbreaker for 2 before Stark hits a German suplex for a near fall herself. Shirai sends Stark into the turnbuckle, hits the running double knees, and the moonsault for the pinfall victory. Thoughts?
Wait, that's what they're calling it?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, I remember them saying that now. That's dumb.
Oh, sorry, post-match before we give our thoughts. Shirai helps Stark up and they hug each other. Again, this is what we're saying, right? To sort of indicate that Stark is starting out as a babyface, it looks like.
Yep.
What'd you think?
I thought the match was I thought it was good. I think Stark's looking better and better. I'm interested to see what she does because I literally have no idea who she is.
Right.
I hope they also maybe give some spotlight to Jade and Priscilla Kelly.
Yeah, I like Priscilla Kelly.
I'd like to see them a little more, but I think Stark looked pretty cool. I feel like they could, instead of 205 Live maybe, because 205 Live doesn't seem to be doing much, or just some other show maybe on their YouTube, kind of like Dark, but maybe some showcase, because I feel like if you're not Io Shirai or Toni Storm or Xia Li, I guess, you don't really get much attention in the women's division, so maybe some sort of or maybe when they introduce NXT Evolve, maybe they need to put some more women on there, just because I feel like
I think
it would give some more space, or maybe give some more time to them.
I think they could do another hour of just the women for NXT, to be honest, right? There's a lot of women in that division.
Wait,
and
a
just
3-hour
signed
show, or you divvy it up?
No, a separate show. Even if it were an online YouTube show, I know I complain about that, but it would be another place.
Just at least something.
Yep, I enjoyed this match. I thought Stark
maybe replace NXT UK because no one cares about that.
Stark continues to impress me. She works fast. Her kicks look good. Her diving knee.
Yeah, fast and hard hitting.
She's super athletic, right? She attempted a 450 here and landed on her feet at one point. So I don't see a ton of women doing that. she looked like she belongs with Io Shirai in a match, and that's a huge compliment in itself, right? She looked like she belongs. If they
Kind of
could,
like the debut, Tyler Rust got
yeah, you're right. Against
Ciampa.
Ciampa, you're just like,
Right.
wow, he can hang with a megastar right off the bat. So if they can somehow make her character interesting, then I think she's a nice addition to this division. And of course, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about Stark. Io Shirai is awesome, and at least partly responsible for Stark looking good here for sure, right? So then, of course, it's Tony time. Sorry, and no, she shows up. And she says that Io will fight anybody but her. She reminds Shirai that she kicked her head off last week.
Oh my
And Storm
God.
points
Wait,
out that...
when did she do that?
Last week.
I don't remember that happening.
Storm then points out that Shirai beat Mercedes Martinez at TakeOver, technically pinning her, right?
Oh
And
my
not
God.
Tony.
Shut up, Tony.
And tells Shirai that she can't beat Tony. Shirai quickly responds and says that she'll fight Tony anytime, any place, anywhere. And then Storm challenges Shirai to go find Regal to make the match happen. Thoughts?
No.
You don't have thoughts?
I just don't want this. I don't think Tony's good enough. I think it's a waste of Io's time. I think this should have been just done.
Yeah.
No thanks.
I think that this was further evidence of something we've said before, that Tony Storm in live promos is lacking, and that Tony Storm in like produced stuff is okay, because I didn't think she was strong here
it's like
in
meh.
this promo. I agree with you. I'm not quite as harsh, but I agree. I don't feel like she's been built up to the point where I really believe that. And some people are suggesting that she is going to take the title off of Io, and I really don't think she's ready for that.
I don't want that to happen.
But I think at some point, right, they just have to do it, because again, I don't see anybody that's on Shirai's level.
Give some time for Taya Valkyrie, because she's here, she's signed, she's coming. Like, just give it some time, and I think she's way more deserving than stupid Tony Storm.
So if Io can get a good match with not Tony Storm, with Zoe Stark, then I mean, I'm optimistic that she can have a good match with Tony Storm as well, I guess.
Yeah, but I think it'd be like similar to the Kushida match, where it's like Io Shirai is going to be Tony Storm's Johnny Gargano in this situation, where she'll kind of help her out. So I think, and then like I'm still really yet to see Kushida do something without someone good, and I think Tony Storm needs to be able to do that too. But I think Shirai would help at least.
I also don't find Tony Storm terribly believable as a heel, at least as she's been booked so far, right? She just seems like, I don't know what she is, to be honest.
More insulting to people?
She's a tweener, kind of. I don't know. Anyways, we'll move on.
She's not really good as a babyface either.
The Way is shown leaving as Mackenzie Mitchell tries to interview them. Gargano complains about Theory not hitting Loomis with the chair when he had the chance. Theory says that Loomis didn't deserve it and that Loomis is just misunderstood.
Gargano, the guy who got kidnapped?
Gargano calls Loomis a psychopath, and Indy says she thinks Loomis is kind of hot. Gargano wonders what's happening to Hartwell and Theory and tells Theory that he's going to therapy, and he leaves.
With therapist Kyle O'Reilly.
So again, sounds like we're doing the Stockholm Syndrome, where Theory is somehow sympathetic now to Dexter Loomis. Johnny performs the heck out of this, but I'm not a fan of this angle, as we've talked about a few times, I think. I'm guessing we're going to get comedic therapy sessions, which
because that worked out great a year ago.
I'm not super interested in. And I find that they're kind of teasing the Way sort of imploding here, right? And it seems premature to me, because I don't really know what the Way has accomplished, if anything, really. Yeah. So the fact that they're already having struggles, I'm not quite understanding. It seems a little bit quick to me, but that is what happens with WWE storylines at times, right? Is they move
most of the time
more quickly than I would move them myself.
Of the time.
So anyways, I don't know what you thought, but
I did not love this. I don't like this whole thing. I don't see how anyone benefits from it.
I guess we'll find out. Maybe somebody will.
Yeah.
We then get that quick Xia Li package just saying that she's next and she'll face Casey Catanzaro.
Is she actually next?
No. It's because we're going into Cameron Grimes again.
Exactly.
Right? So Cameron Grimes is shown again earlier in the day saying he's got it all figured out now. Like, he understands how this $1 Million Man thing works, and he's got it. He's ready. So he brags about his money, and there's a couple people, one of them a woman, sitting on the curb.
A couple of them are women. And
he says that if she can dribble 10 times, he'll give her $1,000. She mentions, like the Ted DiBiase video from back in the day, and she stands up. And I think the reason they had her sitting on the curb is because when she stands up, she's considerably taller than Grimes. And when Grimes tries to kick the ball away from her, she dribbles through her legs. and avoids him and does earn the $1,000. And I think this is the former WNBA athlete that they just signed, and I assume that this is her because she clearly can handle a basketball. So Grimes does give her the money, but then rants about people thinking they're smarter than him again. I was amused by this again. I don't know about you. Grimes
Yeah, I found this really amusing as well.
he's a hell of a performer, right? My only thing is I hope they don't forget that he's amazing in the ring too, right? Like I don't even think we've seen him at his full potential in the ring. He is a very talented guy, but watching him sort of blow his fortune every week will kind of be fun to watch, I think. And he, as I said, he commits to this role, so I thought it was funny. We do then get Xia Li versus Casey Catanzaro, so it wasn't quite next, but they were close, I guess. So Lee gains control early by sending Casey into the turnbuckle, followed by a suplex for a 2 count. Casey then comes back with a sunset flip before Lee hits a kick to the ribs. Casey kicks Lee repeatedly until Lee pushes back before Casey hits a drop kick, followed by a flipping leg drop for 2. In my opinion, she's already getting too much offense here, but I'll talk about that in a bit. Lee gets a hold of Casey on the floor and sends her into the barricade. With Casey's leg against the steel steps, like kind of as Casey's lying on her back on the floor, her leg is up on the first step. Lee steps right on the knee of Casey, who screams in pain. I thought this looked pretty good, actually, similar to like the Baszler arm stomp thing.
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty painful. Lee then kind of drags Catanzaro by the hair back into the ring. Once they're in the ring, Casey is telling the referee she's hurt. The referee comes in to investigate and calls for the bell as Casey Catanzaro cannot continue. Thoughts?
It was fine. I think giving Lee a win over credible somewhat opponent is smart.
Yes.
A little too much offense for Casey, but still fine.
Yep. I thought this was okay as well. I agree. Casey got a bit too much offense. I thought she should maybe hit one move and that's it. Lee did look vicious with the leg attack, and I guess that's the point. But for me, here's where this gimmick that Xia Li's been working runs into some issues, right? So she was trained by a soulless 1,000-year-old woman in a rare martial art.
Who they now keep calling by her name before. Like,
yes.
What happened to the whole Tian Sha thing? Like, Mei Ying was the non-creepy, soulless person, and that is the soulless person, so that's technically Tian Sha.
Right.
And yes, it's a very minor thing, but just like, they went through the whole process of making a Tian Sha vignette, and now they're just calling her Mei Ying, so that's kind of annoying.
So now, you've got Xia Li, who we've seen being basically tortured to learn this rare martial art and learn it from a 1,000-year-old soulless master. And then she's basically not struggling, but basically a graduate of American Ninja Warrior and a relatively green wrestler gives her a run for her money. So that's where exactly what I've been saying since the beginning of Xia Li doing this. This is where you run into problems for me, right? Is that how can she be booked to realistically lose? She was like being beaten with canes and drowned and stuff and surviving no problem. And then a 90-pound American Ninja Warrior woman sort of pushes her to the limit almost, right? So this is where I think it's going to start having issues for me, but it was fine. And then after the match, Kaden Carter, who's Casey's tag team partner, she leaves the ring and goes to try and talk to Tian Sha with Boa sort of standing in her way. And then obviously this left Catanzaro alone in the ring with Lee, and Lee hits a spin kick to the head of Casey and tells Carter that she is next. And I think this is a predictable progression of the story, but I'm fine with it. And again, I think Lee needs to quickly injure Kaden Carter in their match as well. What did you think?
Yeah, I think she needs to whoop Carter even worse than Catanzaro, because I think Catanzaro's probably a little better than Carter.
Yeah.
So I think she needs to get whooped real bad.
More of the same, hopefully, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we get Regal back in the parking lot looking for Santos Escobar again, but he's still not there. Then we get a video that airs about the team of Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez winning the Women's Dusty Cup last week. We get a brief little spot where Baszler and Nia Jax are the women's tag team champions, and Shayna says that the women's division is now made up of the scraps that are left from when Shayna was there, which I kind of liked from her perspective, right? Dakota and Raquel then talk about how they're going to win the titles next week. And I mean, there was nothing spectacular here. I thought it was just fine standard promos, and I'm already looking forward to this match. So any more build they want to do is kind of a bonus at this point, because I'm ready to see this match. What about you?
Yeah, I think I do kind of actually get the point of their just being the scraps, because even Io Shirai is someone Baszler beat numerous times.
Yeah.
Belair's gone. Well, Ripley's the one who beat her, but she's also gone. Kai, she beat, who else would there be? Candice LeRae. I remember, I think it was when NXT first came on the TV deal. I think LeRae. Remember, like, LeRae had a match with Baszler, and we were just like, that. It was kind of confusing.
And I don't think we were fans of LeRae back then.
No, she was still
like,
a babyface.
Yeah.
Even like, I guess not Shotzi, but Ember Moon. Way back.
Yep.
But so I think her point is merit. I think it's just building hype though to a match I already want to see.
Right. So, yeah, I feel the same.
Still good though.
Next week on NXT, we're going to get Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez for the women's tag team titles. That should be a very fun match as long as they limit the time that a certain one Nia Jax spends in the ring, right? Hopefully it doesn't hurt any of our favorite women.
Yeah.
So Cameron Grimes is still in the parking lot of the building with the basketball, so he gets 3 solid segments this week, which is kind of cool for him.
Yes.
He tells a random guy this time to dribble the basketball 10 times. And then the guy starts to dribble, and Grimes, like, basically immediately punches him in the face, I think it was.
Yeah.
Just so it's like he gets the whole joke now, but he kind of doesn't because it's backfired. So this time, this is his way.
He just doesn't even care.
Of making sure it won't backfire. But the funny thing is, right, he celebrates, but still tosses the money around anyways and leaves. So my thing is that even when he gets the trick right, he's still giving away money. And I think that's where we're going to get is that he's constantly just hemorrhaging money and his millions are going to run out pretty quickly. Yeah. But it'll be a fun ride, I think. So yeah, all 3 of those segments entertain me. I was
thoroughly entertained throughout the show thanks to him.
And that's kind of a nice little, like, they're really quick comedy, right? Like there's nothing super lengthy in the ring. It's just a little segment here and there that I thought they were sprinkled throughout the show and done pretty well this week.
Yeah.
We then get the Grizzled Young Veterans, and they're coming in with microphones, and they speak. Gibson says that Wes Lee of MSK has unfortunately broken his hand, and Drake says they were fined for breaking his hand, basically. Gibson then says that they are destined for tag team glory and insults Dane and Maverick, calling them Shrek and Donkey, which I thought was actually right. Like I was like, yeah, that completely makes sense to me, to be honest. So I thought that was funny. It then moves into the match, and it is Grizzled Young Veterans versus Dane and Maverick. Maverick and Dane hit some double team moves, including Dane body slamming Maverick onto Drake for a 2 count, the standard, like he uses his partner as a weapon sort of thing. Gibson takes over against Maverick with a clothesline, but then Dane saves his partner and sends the heels out of the ring. Dane then tosses Maverick onto both opponents out on the floor. The heels control Maverick, who eventually breaks free and makes the sort of hot tag to Dane. Dane is on fire here in the middle of this match with power moves, including a fallaway slam Samoan drop at the same time to both of the Grizzled Young Veterans.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Gave me Ray-Ro vibes right there. Remember he did like the slam and the power bomb?
Oh, Ray-Ro. I miss you, Ray-Ro. Dane continues and gets a 2 count with the senton splash on Drake, with Gibson making the save. Dane hits a double suplex, so he suplexes both of the Grizzled Young Veterans before Maverick.
Nice power move.
Yeah, Maverick tags back in with repeated drop kicks on Drake. So Drake drop kicks Drake. That's not confusing at all. Gibson makes a blind tag.
If you just use last names or just use first names, then you're fine.
Yeah. Gibson makes a blind tag, and the Grizzled Young Veterans hit a double team drop kick into a flatliner that I thought looked pretty cool.
That was really nice. I remember them doing it before, but still.
They just feel like an actual tag team, right? They feel like a tag team that's
like
been wrestling
forever. They know each other. They work well together.
And that is the kayfabe story, too, and I think they do an amazing job of telling that story.
Right, like presenting it, making it believable.
Drake takes out Dane on the floor with a suicide dive, and Maverick hits a bulldog to Gibson. Gibson catches Maverick with an arm drag off the ropes, and the Grizzled Young Veterans hit the Ticket to Mayhem double team move that I think always looks cool.
Kind of like the name, too.
For the pinfall and the win. What did you think?
The match was fine. There's some lulls, but I thought Dane looked actually pretty good.
He did.
I kind of wish he would be a monster again, kind of like he was in Sanity. And honestly, if they had maybe stayed in NXT or been treated right, Sanity could have been a great faction.
Yeah.
I think like they had a pretty decent lineup.
Yep, and they had a cool theme and entrance and stuff. I thought they could have been a really solid.
They had potential.
Mid-card heel
and
faction.
I kind of liked them in NXT. I thought they were cool.
Yep.
But he still looked good in this match. I think, like you said, Grizzled Young Veterans look and feel like a team. They present themselves like a legit team. They just work like a legit team. So they're great. I think they would fit. They would be an asset to any promotion.
I do too.
I thought it was good. Decent win, and it's not like they were beating jobbers like Everrise or something.
No,
right?
And I think that's part of this is I think they found the sweet spot for Dane and Maverick for me.
They're like the Cassius Ohno of tag teams.
Yep. So I thought this was a fun,
a
pretty fun, fairly short match. Dane and Maverick got a chance to hit a bunch of their offense, and I thought Dane was really impressive. Stretch against both of the grizzled young veterans. And I think the idea is that grizzled young veterans just work better as a team, kayfabe story, and I agree with it. And they just find a way to win. And I think this was a right outcome in a fun match. And I wonder how long MSK are actually out if this broken hand thing is true, because I was really enjoying the build between the veterans and MSK. So
I think it's probably just like, wait, how long did they say he was out?
I don't. They just said that they broke his hand and they didn't say anything. So.
I think if they didn't give him a specific time, it's probably not.
And even a broken hand in a cast, he can work, right? People work with broken wrists and things.
Remember Cole had a cast for like 2019.
So hopefully they can still get things done. I remember planned.
Like when he had the match with Matt Riddle on when NXT was starting out, and like the end of 2019, even like early 2020.
Yeah, he had a cast on the whole time.
Yeah, he had like a cast for like a while.
Yep. So then we get a backstage segment with Killian Dane carrying Drake Maverick backstage. Alexander Wolf of Imperium walks up to them wondering what he just saw. Wolf tells Dane what you just wanted to tell Dane, that he used to be a monster, but now he is doing this, sort of like this. Dane calls for a doctor for Maverick, so tell me what you liked about it.
I think, one, they have history. Obviously, Wolf was also on Sandy.
Right.
Before we discovered he's actually a good wrestler.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly correct.
And I think, like, if this is a recruitment attempt, I think Killian Dane would be really interesting in Imperium. Like, he's a UK guy, right?
So he'd fit, yep.
He's just like, and he's different. Like, even Walter, who's big, he's not the same as, well, what Killian Dane was.
No.
Right? So, like, I think he would bring something like the promo highlight, he would bring something different and new to the group,
yep.
Right? So I think he'd be really interesting. I think, I don't know, I would like that. Maybe this is more an interesting storyline, or it's just WWE trolling everyone.
I like this too, and I think Wolf has a point, right? Like, Dane was a monster before. It looks to me like Dane and Maverick will be the first step in the rebuild of Imperium. And for me, I kind of, it feels like the perfect role for Dane and Maverick, right? I enjoy them, but I don't think they belong near the top of the tag team division. So I think using them in this way is actually really smart, because they do put on good matches. Their dynamic between Dane and Maverick is kind of interesting to me. So I feel like this is going to be the first step in Imperium sort of reestablishing themselves as a major tag team by taking out Dane and Maverick. And then who knows what they'll do. Maybe they do recruit Dane afterwards. He may get tired of sort of losing with Maverick as his partner. There's places they can go, right? So I kind of like this too.
Yeah.
We then get what wasn't quite the main event, because they were going with a segment rather than a match, but it's the final match of the night at least. So Santos
match, I guess.
Santos Escobar versus Karrion Kross. So we have Legado del Fantasma. They're out in the parking lot still. They did finally arrive, I guess, and Karrion Kross suddenly shows up to attack them. Kross tosses Mendoza into a garage door as Escobar emerges from the car, only for Kross to send him into the side of a truck. Escobar slams the rolling door on the back of the truck onto the back and arm of Kross, that I thought was pretty cool. Kross then hits his forearm against the truck as Escobar moves out of the way of an attack. Kross uses a pickaxe to go after Escobar, and he's sort of smashing it against the door of the truck at one point.
I thought he would break the window.
Yeah, he was going after it. He didn't even hit the window, right? He sort of hit the door of it, which I was wondering. It was just... I'm not sure why they were doing this. There's a few things in here I just felt like they were trying to introduce foreign objects for the sake of foreign objects. Kross sends Wild, then Mendoza flying.
No DQ match. You gotta get the point across.
You do. Flying into the truck. Escobar hits Kross with a steel trash can a couple times before Legado slam Kross back first into the truck a couple times. Legado then leads the weakened Kross back into the arena, but Kross fights back and shoves Mendoza and Wild into and sort of through the fiberglass at ringside. I thought that looked cool, and it leaves a shocked kind of Escobar staring at an angry Kross from about 15 feet away, which I like the visual of that as well. I thought Escobar's facial expression was really good there, and Kross was just standing there menacing. I thought it made for a pretty cool visual. Kross gets into the ring with Escobar and hits a boot to the face. Kross then sends Escobar out of the ring into the barricade. Mendoza is back at this point, but Kross sends him into the barricade. Mendoza comes back with 2 chair shots to the arm of Kross. Escobar drives Kross's arm into the ring post and shoves him into the steel steps heading into a commercial. So it's a lot of sort of attacking Kross's arm at this point. Back from the commercial with Escobar hitting a sliding dropkick while Kross favors his left shoulder. Escobar wraps a chair around the left arm of Kross, then drives Kross into shoulder first into the ring post. Escobar hits a DDT onto a chair in the seated position at ringside, puts him back in and gets a 2 count. Escobar sends Cross out of the ring again, where Cross fights back against Mendoza and Wilde. Escobar hits a dive, his super fast, awesome suicide dive to send Cross into the barricade. Escobar grounds Cross with an armbar, leading to a knee strike before Cross blocks a second suplex attempt and hits an overhead suplex, then another. Escobar sends Cross into the steps, and Cross counters a whip into the ring post. Cross hits Escobar with a chair shot to the ribs. He then takes out Mendoza and Wilde again and kicks Escobar out of the ring. Cross hits a Saito suplex through the announce table, and that
looked awesome.
Pretty cool, I thought, too.
It looked really cool, but I feel like this is one of the times where you can really tell the announce table's made to collapse.
Yes, it gave pretty quickly.
But, like, it still looked really cool.
It did. Back in the ring, Cross hits another Saito suplex, this time followed by the running forearm immediately to the back of the head for the pinfall win, as I unfortunately thought would happen. What did you think of the match?
I thought there was some, like, the pickaxe thingy was weird, but I thought there were some really cool parts. Like, I love Cross, like, throwing them through the thing. It almost broke a little, like, it almost looked a little cheesy just because, like, he kind of threw them easily, but still looked cool. And the Saito suplex through the table was awesome. I kind of liked your wish of the stripping of the title.
Just to get Escobar out of this division.
But still, the match we got was still pretty good. But I think Escobar was wearing some really weird clothes.
Yep. I think it's a street fight gear or whatever it is.
Yeah, but it was weird street fight gear.
I think a lot of people are going to like this match a lot more than I did. It definitely had its moments, and you pointed out a couple of really cool spots that I enjoyed as well. I didn't love it personally. It was slow in parts with lots of foreign object usage, which isn't usually my favorite unless they kind of get creative with it. Cross does look like a monster. He basically won a 3-on-1 handicap Extreme Rules match here, right? And unfortunately, the flip side of that, I think, is that Legado looks kind of weak because the three of them, with no rules, couldn't get the job done against this guy.
Right, it's like one guy benefits, but then three guys don't.
So what I'm hoping is that Escobar comes back and he's blaming the other two and he sort of breaks away from them, because I think it's time for this association to sort of end. I think they continue to sort of hold him back a little bit because I think he's a major star, and the other two, no offense, are not. And it's just not, the act isn't helping Escobar at this point. The belt isn't helping him. Being in that division isn't helping him. As for Cross, I really don't want him in the main event rotation right now because I'm loving who's there at the moment. But I don't know
perfect.
where else is he gonna go?
Main roster.
Right. Yeah, well, yeah, that would be nice too. So then we get good old LA Knight. He cuts a promo from his car.
LA Knight.
He says that when he debuts, it will be on his time and his terms. That means it could be next week, the week after that, 3 months after that, or whenever he wants. And then, of course, he ends with his fact of life line. What did you think of that promo?
It was fine. You could not really tell what gimmick he's doing. It's just the Eli Drake thing. But I'm hoping he debuts soon because he's pretty cool. So
yeah, I thought it was solid, right?
Yeah, it was solid.
It was pretty generic. It's the whole like on my time, on my terms. The same thing like Escobar's been doing, somebody else has been doing lately. I can't remember offhand, but it's the whole like it'll be on my time, not yours kind of thing. But yeah, it's further exposure, right? To let us know, the audience can sort of get familiar with him so that when he's in the ring, we know who he is and kind of what he's about, which I think makes sense. He always does a good job talking, and it's kind of showcasing his strengths early on, right? Talking is what he's best at. I'm not saying he's bad in the ring, but his in-ring work is not on par with his promo ability, so I think this is a good way to introduce him to NXT fans. We then head to the actual main event, which is Adam Cole making his entrance all alone, and it's right before the end of the second hour, so this, I think, went into overrun this week a little bit. So Cole gets into the ring, and we're shown clips of Cole destroying his best friend Kyle O'Reilly last week on NXT with the kick and then the brainbuster onto the steps. Cole says he's going to try and explain what he did to Kyle, but after watching the footage that just aired, he feels sick to his stomach. Cole notes that somebody knows the NXT championship is important to him, everybody knows, but he doesn't like the guy that he has become the last few weeks. And he does a good job of seeming pretty sincere, right? Like, Adam Cole can act, so he does a good job with this, I think. He admits that he was angry that Kyle got opportunity after opportunity at the title and continued to fail, but that this doesn't excuse what Cole did to O'Reilly. Cole says that after watching the footage, he's ashamed of himself. He looks directly into the camera and talks to Kyle and says that he wishes they could be having this conversation face to face, man to man, but they can't do that. He goes on to say that Kyle knows him better than anybody, and Kyle knows that Cole hates admitting he was wrong. But Cole was dead wrong last week. He made a stupid, stupid mistake, and he hates himself for it, and he'll do everything he can to fix things, and if he can't, then at least he's going to try. So then we get Roderick Strong showing up. He's got a microphone, and he complains about what Cole did to Kyle and to the rest of the group. Strong says that this whole Undisputed Era was built on trust, love, and brotherhood, and that they would do whatever it took to have each other's back. But just like that, Cole shattered that trust. Strong adds that Kyle is going to heal, and when Kyle heals, Strong doesn't know if he can save Cole from what he's going to do to Cole, which I thought was a cool little line. Like, I can't stop Kyle when he comes back. What he's going to do to you, like, I can't stop him. Finn Balor then makes an appearance and shoves Strong aside, and he immediately goes after Cole and attacks him. Strong then attacks Balor, so Balor tackles Strong out of the ring. Cole shoves Balor into the barricade and hits a super kick. Cole returns into the ring, where a confused Roderick Strong sort of wasn't sure who was in there with him and hits a running clothesline to Adam Cole. Cole then tells Strong that he doesn't want this, and he starts to apologize again as they're both sort of on the mat. Cole is on his knees saying it's all his fault because he screwed everything up. Strong tells Cole he's his brother and he loves him. They embrace, and as Strong goes to stand up, Cole hits him with a low blow. And he tells Roddy he's stupid and tells Roddy he's dead to him as he rips off Roderick Strong's Undisputed Era dog tag necklace. With Roddy on his knees, Cole hits a super kick to knock him out, and Cole stands over a fallen Strong as the crowd boos to end the show. Your thoughts, my son?
I liked it. I thought Cole was. I didn't really like it at first though.
Then we chatted about it a bit, right? I gave you my point of view on this. This one we did talk about
because
a
like
bit.
it was kind of weird. Because he was like all apologetic and whatever. But then I kind of liked him turning on Strong anyways after.
Yep.
But and I think like you said earlier, I think the main event is so good right now. Roddy talking's never really that
No, it's not his
great.
forte, and we love Roddy, but he's not a talker.
Right. But I'm really interested to see what happens when Kyle's back.
Me too.
Because this is gonna be great.
Yep. I thought this was a really good segment, and I quite enjoy Cole's character work here. We were saying, like, I would be happy if he kept doing this for a while, like attacking them and then apologizing, right? So I don't think we're getting that, but I like this too. This idea that he can full on attack his friends, right? Kick him, brainbuster him on a steel stairs, and expect forgiveness. But if one of his friends hits him in a moment of confusion with just a clothesline, basically, they're dead to him, right? So I kind of I like this.
I think it was either that or just like he was gonna do that anyways.
Right.
But I think also what you're saying.
I like the disparity there, right? Like, I'm allowed to just attack you multiple times and beg for forgiveness, and I expect you guys to forgive me, but you accidentally hit me with the clothesline, you're dead to me, and it's over. So I kind of thought that was amusing. It was a long segment, but it held my interest for the entire time. I just think Cole's doing excellent heel work here, which is his forte. I'm really glad because the babyface bit was underwhelming for me. And I got some, I think I said it at the time, I got some major HBK vibes from this segment, and that's in a good way, right? This undersized guy with just massive charisma, really good heel work on the microphone. He just reminds me a lot of HBK sort of in his prime, and that's a huge compliment because even though I can't stand him as a person, HBK is one of the best talents I've seen wrestling.
Yeah.
Just in terms of pure entertainment, right? Like a sports entertainer / wrestler, he's one of the best ever, I think. So I thought this was a cool segment to end the show. What did you think of the show overall?
I wasn't a huge fan of the opener. And then Rust and Rough, well, that was not
Didn't even happen.
non-existent, but I liked it just because it
Yep.
amused me.
Me too.
Cameron Grimes was beyond amusement for me. It was really funny. I love those segments. Shrine and Stark, I thought had a good match. I thought the tag match was good. Lee and Canzaro was probably my least favorite match, but still fine.
Yep.
MSK had a really cool promo, and then the end segment was pretty good as well. So I'd probably give it like a B+. I thought it was a pretty good show.
So you have it ahead of AEW this week.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, well, let's see what I have to say. And guess what? It's probably going to sound similar a little bit. I think I liked some things a bit more than you. I thought it was a pretty good episode. Wrestling-wise, I liked Loomis Gargano myself. I liked the Grizzled Young Veterans tag match. I liked the Stark EO match. Xia Li match wasn't much, but furthers the story. The main event had some cool spots for sure, but was underwhelming for me. And I think as well, it was significantly too long. I think it just had too much time. They could have taken some of that out. But anyways, segment wise, again, really liked the MSK promo. I liked Swerve's attack. Grimes was amusing all night. LA Knight was solid. The final Cole Undisputed Era Balor thing I really liked. Of the segments, I guess Tony Storm's promo was the only thing I really didn't enjoy, but that's pretty much standard for her at this point, no offense. So overall, I would say I enjoyed the majority of this show, and I feel that it deserves a grade of a B+. So I think it was slightly better than AEW this week as well. So we sort of agree.
We didn't talk about this already.
We did not talk about that already.
Other than the one thing.
Nice. So that will take us into, I guess, our next segment, which is any other wrestling business. And as we usually do, I'm going to start out with Ring of Honor talk. And you know that I enjoyed the main event. I told you that, but I'll get into some details of it now because Jack doesn't watch Ring of Honor. I mean, maybe if crowds come back, you'll check it out, right? But right now It's just not, without crowds, your empty arena is not your thing. So I suffer through it for now, and then maybe you'll join me later. So Quinn McKay welcomes us to Ring of Honor Wrestling and tells us that this will be an action-packed episode. She goes on to say the main event will have Mexa Squad defending the 6-man tag team championship against Shane Taylor Promotions. I find it interesting, first of all, that it's called the 6-man tag team championship, because in my mind, that means your team has 6 people on it. No?
Yeah, I that's why I called the trio. So, like, I get a 6-man tag match because there's 6 guys involved.
I do, but I think if you're not a wrestling person, like, I don't think that's what you. Anyways, I guess they don't care. But
maybe because they're defending 6-man tag matches.
Because that's what they call it. So those are their words, not mine. So we are told that it's a big 2-week stretch for Shane Taylor, which is great because I think he's really cool, as he'll be taking on Roosh for the World Championship next week. The opening contest tonight between the Briscoes and Dragon Lee and Kenny King will determine who challenges Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham for the tag team championships next week. We'll also get a third match this week, which will have Bennett taking on Bateman. So right away, there's a different format to this show, right? It's always just been 2 matches, promo by each of the people involved in the first match, then the match, then promo, and the second match. So they're switching it up this week, which I think isn't a bad idea, even though I do like the way it's normally structured. I could see it getting a bit repetitive over time. So the first match is the Briscoes versus Dragon Lee and Kenny King to determine the number 1 contender for the tag team championships. And again, there's sort of no promos before this match, likely due to the third match being included. So I guess they sort of don't have as much time as usual. And I think it's the first time since the reboot that I don't remember them doing promos before matches. So the match starts fairly slowly. It was the story of 4 men that know each other very well from a long history in this company, and they're sort of proceeding with some caution while trying to establish an advantage. We learned somewhere in the middle of this match that the tag team title defense next week will be held under pure rules because Lethal and Gresham are the champions. So I thought that was an interesting little wrinkle. It'll be a pure rules defense. The action finally starts to pick up as the Briscoes double team King, first in the ring and then on the outside. And then Jay Briscoe and Dragon Lee have a nice quick exchange once they're in the ring together. I have learned that Dragon Lee is awesome since covering this company. I hadn't seen him a lot before covering this, but he is one of my favorite things going in this company. After a nice sequence by Lee, ending with the Poison Rana, Caprice Coleman says it well on commentary. Dragon Lee can hit you with 3 moves in the time it takes his opponent to hit one, and it really does seem that way sometimes. The finish comes as Dragon Lee goes for a Rana to Mark, while Mark stands on the apron, but it's blocked and Lee gets powerbombed on the apron instead. Then there's a hangman's neck breaker by Jay, but as Mark heads up top, Amy Rose distracts the referee, while Flip Gordon sort of appears out of nowhere to kick Mark off the top rope, and Jay gets rolled up by Kenny for the 3 count. So the match started off slowly, and I was kind of bored, if I'm being honest, but the latter parts of this match were really good, with fast action and some high-impact moves, and ended up being really enjoyable, especially Dragon Lee. I'm not a huge fan of the distraction roll-up for a heel win, but it doesn't happen all the time in ROH, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. I guess Flip is somehow affiliated with LFI now, since he tagged with them recently and then helped them here. And this, like most of their matches, suffered greatly from the empty arena, I think, because there's lots of spots that people are going to cheer for with Dragon Lee especially, but it was a fun match nonetheless. We then As the Briscoes linger at
The
rings.
Bringos.
I always try and race through this one because I know you don't have anything to say, and then I end up smashing words together, unfortunately. So as the Briscoes linger at ringside after the match, EC3's entrance video plays on the big screen as the Briscoes look confused. So here's me hoping, okay, EC3's back. That's fine. As long as they've changed the character he's doing and his method of speaking, we'll be fine. But no.
And he's actually signed now, so even better.
He's still talking about honor and social media and buying honor for money. So I think he's implying that he paid Flip Gordon to interfere in this match, but I'm not sure. I can't believe he is still doing this crap. He says that Jay Briscoe is one of the few men he actually respects in this industry. He's never bent the knee. He works hard and fights harder. He has a legacy within ROH that transcends the very name. EC3 envies Jay
transcends the very name?
and wonders where his honor will take him. EC3 says Jay is a free man and he controls his narrative.
Oh my god, there it is.
EC3 needs to put down the thesaurus and stop trying to be so cryptic and mysterious. His promos are all lengthy, full of big words that he uses incorrectly at times.
Just gotta control your narrative,
and
man.
Virtually meaningless. I've said it before, this is like Bray Wyatt, and I find it exhausting.
On like overdrive.
He's not good at using this technique, and he needs to try something a bit more straightforward, in my opinion, because I like the guy. I can't stand his current incarnation. Anyways, we then get a match sort of put in the middle here, which is Bateman with Vita Von Starr. I guess she's part of
I have no idea who that is.
I'd never seen her before, I don't think. She's part of the Righteous, I guess, versus Mike Bennett in a relaxed rules match, question mark?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't either, but it still does mean that the ref counts countouts. I can tell you that much because he did.
Yeah,
so Rick
so relaxed.
Abani tells us that Shibata once told Bateman that he hits too hard while Bateman was with New Japan.
Oh, that's the one guy from Japan.
He's one of my favorites of all time. But
is he the skinny guy with the mustache and the goatee?
No, but he basically almost got killed in a match. He got concussed so badly, I think his wrestling career is over. But he was amazing.
No,
Anyways,
I'm gonna Google him because
I still struggle with the idea of Bennett as a babyface. There's just nothing about him that I find likable, and I don't get why he's a babyface. But anyways, Bennett hits a running spear as the bell rings.
Yeah,
and yells,
skinny guy with the mustache.
And yells at Bateman, maybe now. The story is that Bennett is fighting from emotion since he hates the Righteous so much, and that Bateman is this emotionless guy waiting for Bennett to make a mistake, which is a cool story for me. Bateman is low man on the Righteous, so I assume this is Bennett fighting his way up to earn a shot at Vincent. Lots of chops and strikes from Bennett, who controls the first part of this match, until Avita briefly distracts him outside, and Bennett runs himself into the barricade as Bateman steps out of the way. This match is barely in the ring at all for the first several minutes. Bateman hits a decapitator to the underside of the ring at one point, and then skipping a whole bunch, the finish comes after Bateman has controlled the action in the ring for a while, but Bennett hits a short spear and a pile driver for the win. Taven shows up to attack Bateman further after the match. What a babyface move, right? Attack a guy that's already lost a match.
Right.
They get a chair and a piece of lumber.
Just like Dexter Loomis. They're great babyfaces.
Exactly. They get a chair and a piece of lumber and call Vincent out to come save Bateman. And Taven wants a match with Vincent.
Wow, great babyface work.
Yeah, I thought so too. Vincent appears on the screen, and even though Taven hears yes all the time in this company, Vincent is saying no to the match, which I kind of liked with Taven. Taven then attacks Bateman's ankle with the chair, another babyface move. He tells Bateman to tell Vincent that this is what will happen to them every time he sees them until he gets the match he wants. So this was fine, I guess, but it's again billed as a grudge match, and it felt really normal, like it wasn't extreme or anything.
Babyfaces.
A predictable loss for Bateman, as Bennett can move on to Vincent, or Taven can. I don't really know or care about this too much. Bennett looks great, like physically, and is fine in the ring. I just don't think there's anything compelling about him as a babyface. I really don't find him likable, as I've said, and hope for a heel turn in the near future, because then I think he could shine. Bateman continues just to be used as lower card talent for this company so far. I want to be into this feud since it's supposed to be bitter and dramatic, but I just can't for some reason. There's just a disconnect for me. Vincent I'm kind of interested in because he has cut a couple pretty good promos, but again, just Taven and Bennett, I have no sympathy for them. I don't want them to be successful. I would probably root for the heels in a match at this point, so that's clearly not what they're going for. We then get a quick Roosh package. I think it might have been the same one as last week, and a reminder of his title match with Shane Taylor next week. We then get the main event. Again, no promos here. It's just straight into the main event for the 6-man championships. Shane Taylor and the SOS versus the Mexa Squad, which is Rey Ores, Flamita, and Bandito. So Maria Kanellis, for some reason, joins the commentary team. I guess she needs something to do.
Because she's great at commentary, I would assume.
She's not bad, but she didn't really add much, if I'm being honest. This will be a definite contrast in styles, this match, because you've got 3 really fast high flyers against 3 very large, powerful guys. So I was looking forward to this. All 6 brawl in the ring as soon as the bell rings. This was a crazy match with Mexa Squad flying all over the place, with Taylor and the SOS then occasionally stopping their momentum with power moves. The finish comes with miscommunication leading to Horace DDTing Flamita by accident. Taylor uses one Mexa Squad member as a weapon against another before taking them both out and hitting Bandito with a knee. Moses clotheslines Bandito and Horace to the floor and hits a cannonball from the apron. This leaves Taylor and Flamita alone in the ring, and Taylor hits a splash and his sick welcome to the land finisher for the win, and Shane Taylor and SOS are the new 6-man tag team champions. So I clearly glossed over a lot of the highlights from this match, as I do with ROH, but this was a fantastic match. I would recommend people check this out. Non-stop action with basically Taylor and SOS acting as the perfect bases for Mexa Squad to just fly around and jump onto. We're getting like triple dives to the outside and all kinds of interesting high flying and really fast maneuvers. I haven't seen much of Mexa Squad, but they were really exciting to watch, and I think Bandito in particular is really cool. And I thought the
only time I remember seeing Bandito is at All In. That was like
yes,
in 2018.
A long time ago. I thought this was a fantastic ROH main event. I recommended, Jack, that you watch it if you get a chance, and other people as well. I thought this was something that ROH should be proud of and maybe showing to get a few more eyes on their product.
Mm-hmm. And don't ask why. I remember the exact match it was. It was him, Phoenix, and Mysterio. Mysterio's wearing like a Wolverine attire against the Bucks and Ibushi.
Nice. I don't remember that, but you're probably right.
It was the main event.
This episode deviated from the usual formula, as I said, and added an extra match and omitted the standard pre-match promos. I enjoyed the product since the reboot for sure, but I do think switching things up occasionally is a good idea to avoid sort of every episode feeling incredibly similar. So I thought this was a nice change of pace. I like the opening match, especially the last 2/3 or so. I'm becoming a huge fan of Dragon Lee, and this was 4 veteran guys putting on a really solid match. The Bennett Bateman match was fine, but nothing spectacular. The feud continues and is allegedly bitter and long-standing, but I'm kind of missing something. I'm not really interested. EC3 promo was awful in my opinion, and I was quite hopeful that he would be trying something new upon his return after a brief absence, but he did not. So when he speaks, he feels like, and this is a pretty good comparison, I feel like, a teenager who's finished their essay, but you're short of the word count. So you add more words and you rely heavily on a thesaurus in an attempt to sound smarter, when in a reality it has the opposite effect, right? Again, I feel compelled to say this. I don't hate EC3. In fact, there's been several times where I've liked him, and I do think he's a good fit for this company, but not doing what he's doing now. Somebody has to rein him in and say that this isn't good. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make him... It makes him look like a kid that sat down with a thesaurus and picked out the biggest possible words he could find, whether he knows how to use them or not. So stop at EC3. Anyways, the main event was awesome. An incredible showcase of 2 very different styles, worked really well. Speed and high flyers combined with power moves and solid bases. Really fun match. I highly recommend. Overall, I enjoyed this show, including the departure from the regular format. I give it a B+ this week, and if not for EC3's promo, this is in the A range, but I've got to knock it down because I can't stand what EC3 is doing right now.
Nice.
All right. So that, I think we're going to, next we'll give me a break from talking so much, and we'll talk about our retro match of the week. Does that sound fair?
Retro match review number 2.
So go ahead. Tell us what it is.
So I wanted to choose an older one, so I was literally just searched every full match on YouTube and was perusing. I found some interesting findings, like Shawn Michaels versus Owen Hart from a Retro in Your House, Michaels Taker from Mania 25, among others. But then I stumbled upon something I've heard much about, and that's what we'll be reviewing. It's Brock Lesnar versus The Rock Undisputed Championship match from SummerSlam 2002.
That's right.
I've heard many things about this match. I've heard that it was like either this was pretty good. I know I've heard the pay-per-view was pretty good. I've heard this was like good as well. So
I didn't remember, obviously, because it's me. So my first note was I have no idea why Jack picked this, so I'm not sure if it's because it's good or because it's bad. So I didn't know.
So a bit of history for those who don't know. So Brock Lesnar debuted on the Raw after WrestleMania 18, and which is the WrestleMania that they had in 2002. And shortly after won the 2002 King of the Ring and would get his title match at SummerSlam. The Rock, meanwhile, would take the Undisputed title from The Undertaker in a triple threat match, also involving Kurt Angle at that year's Vengeance. Undertaker himself had won the title from Hulk Hogan at Judgment Day earlier in the year, so that's fun. So anyways, these events would put Rock and Lesnar on a collision course to SummerSlam 2002, and we would get this match. So in his entrance, Rock lays down the title and charges the ring and attacks Lesnar to start the match. They're selling Rock having injured ribs from a Triple H attack, because I believe Triple H is the number one contender to the Undisputed title.
Right.
And Triple H, he beat Jericho for the belt at Mania, remember?
Yes.
And then he lost it to Hogan, who lost it to Taker, who lost it to Rock.
Yeah.
And so then, I don't know if you remember, but Lesnar becomes SmackDown exclusive. Right? And then, so Triple H, and then the World Heavyweight title comes into play.
Right.
So I guess that kind of all aligns. Anyways, Lesnar's able to hit a belly-to-belly suplex for a 2 count.
Right away, right? Like, I just had that Rock, like, runs into the ring right into a belly-to-belly, which is kind of cool.
After landing a few shots, I think. Rib breakers by Lesnar is kind of like he has him in, like, the world's strongest slam position. Then he, like, drops him down on his knee. So I just called it that because it makes sense.
And this is where I have a note. Like, Lesnar is absolutely humongous and ripped here. Like, he picks up the Rock and does this like nothing. And Rock's over 250 pounds at this point, right? So the power of Lesnar is incredible.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Corner shoulder blocks by Lesnar. Rock is sent to the outside, and Paul Heyman gets a cheap shot. Paul Heyman with, like, his ponytail or whatever.
Doing his classic cheating constantly. Love it.
Yes. Rock gets clotheslined over the barricade, and Lesnar gorilla presses Rock onto the barricade. Didn't look super great, and then Rock does his classic oversell, kinda.
Yes.
Which I find he does a lot. Sometimes it's annoying.
It is.
Rock gets sent back into the ring.
He's a sports entertainer, buddy.
Yeah, he is. Belly-to-belly suplex by Lesnar for a 2 count. Heyman trips the Rock as Rock is starting to fight back. Heyman chokes the Rock as ref's holding Lesnar back after stomping away on Rock. A big scoop power slam for 2 by Lesnar. Crowder chanting Rocky sucks, even though Rock is the face. But more on that in a bit. That's one of the things I've heard about the match.
Right.
Corner shoulder blocks followed by a running corner spear by Lesnar. Lesnar is sent into the post when attempting a back suplex by Rock, which looked kind of cool. And then after briefly being down, both men kip up and stare at each other briefly.
Yep.
Rock hits multiple clotheslines, but Brock's only knocked down by the 3rd. And then a DDT follows for 2 by the Rock. Rock locks in the sharpshooter, but Heyman's distracting the ref. Rock takes out Heyman, and then dragon screw leg whip by the Rock. Rock gets the sharpshooter again, and it looks half decent here. Usually it looks pretty trash. Crowder chanting hard for Lesnar, even though he's the heel. Heyman distracts the ref and drops a chair in the ring. Rock tosses Heyman into the ring, but then Brock is able to save Heyman from a rock bottom. Heyman distracts ref, and Lesnar hits Rock in the ribs with the chair Heyman put in the ring. And then a bear hug being applied by Lesnar.
This is where I thought was a bit boring. The bear hug, and even the Rock's sharpshooter did look. It was a pretty comfortable looking sharpshooter still.
The STF of the sharpshooters.
Yeah.
Rock tries to fight out, but Lesnar transitions into a Saito suplex. Gator roll being applied by Lesnar, and multiple pins only garner quick counts. This was also kind of a lull. Ref does an arm check, and Rock kind of does the thing where, like, oh, he's powering out on the 3rd.
Yep.
And he starts to fight back as the crowd boos. But now they're chanting for the Rock, which I thought was interesting. Right hands by the Rock, he does like the 3 punches, then he goes like, and then does the last punch.
Yep.
Heyman distracts the ref, but Rock just hits a low blow on Lesnar. Lesnar drives Rock into the corner afterwards, though. Corner spear by Lesnar. Lesnar attempts another, but Rock blasts him with a lariat. Right hands by the Rock, and Lesnar sent out of the ring with by a punch. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Rock takes apart the announce table. Heyman's taken out when interference is attempted. A clothesline to Lesnar, and then Lesnar gets catapulted face first in the ring post, which I thought looked pretty cool.
It did.
Rock hits a rock bottom to Heyman through the announce table.
Yep.
back in the ring, rock bottom to Lesnar for a near fall, and then Lesnar hits a rock bottom of his own for a near fall after getting up, and they called it a Brock bottom, which I thought was kind of funny.
That's funny.
Spine buster by The Rock, elbow pad is removed, but Brock cuts off the people's elbow
Thank
with
goodness.
a big lariat. Rock avoids the F5 and starts to tee off with right hands, but Lesnar's able to counter rock bottom and hits an F5 for the win. It only takes one.
That's
And
right.
Brock Lesnar wins to become undisputed champion.
I love
Thoughts?
this version of Brock.
Yeah.
He's a monster and he's good enough to just destroy anybody, but he still uses a sneaky Weasley manager to gain an even bigger advantage,
Right.
which I like, right? Like, that's super heel. He can kill anyone no matter what anyways, but why not just cheat
Right, it's kind of like
along the way?
I was watching the recount on the Bullet Club, and the way they put it for Styles versus I think it was Okada's, like Styles is like more than match for Okada, but then with the Bullet Club,
Right.
it's like
Why not?
way over match, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of here like Lesnar's more than match for The Rock, I think, and then Heyman's just kind of the sugar on top.
I agree. This also reminded me of why I was never a huge Rock fan. He performs the same really basic offense and just plays to the crowd as like half of his thing.
Which they made kind of
was-
difficult here.
It was never my favorite. Meanwhile, Brock pulls off 1,000 suplexes and cool power moves. But this is why The Rock is master of the WWE style, right? It's more about the sizzle than the steak for them. And he's an all-time great in that area. So it's just never been a style that's appealed to me. I'm not saying he's not good, because in terms of sports entertainment, he's one of the best ever. It's just not a style that I find very entertaining. And I found Austin, to compare someone similar in stature, more interesting in the ring somehow. I think he just had maybe just more experience, a greater repertoire of moves, because The Rock, half of his thing, right, is playing to the crowd and mugging for the camera and stuff. So I thought it was a good match between two absolute megastars, but I don't think it was amazing. But then again, to be fair, I have a history of not really finding The Rock that kind of exciting to me. Like, he's just kind of,
Yeah.
this is what Rock did for many years and people loved it.
Yep.
And I just wasn't one of them.
I feel like people always go bonkers for his crap.
They do, and I never did, because I don't know, it's just not what
Yeah.
I'm looking for.
So I thought the match was good, but very of its time. I've heard great things about this and the pay-per-view is on, but for me the match at least didn't quite live up. I think just because it's not what I'm accustomed to, and also just The Rock.
Yeah, like, this was not an AEW
Yeah.
Dynamite match, right? Like, this isn't.
Yeah.
This was a
Sports
entertainment
not
match.
even the same as today's main roster, I think.
Yeah.
Not to say I didn't like it, because it was good and
It
a
was.
crowning moment for Lesnar, but Rock matches are very sports entertainment, and that's less my thing. And kind of like I was saying about Loomis, tend to be kind of formulaic. The crowd dynamic was
agree.
weird, but I've heard about it before, and I'm pretty sure Rock was off to film a movie, perhaps Scorpion King. I think this might have been around that
Oh,
time.
that makes sense. Yeah, that's possible.
It was either before this or after this, or something. That's probably why he got booed. Similar to when Lesnar and Goldberg got booed at
because the
WrestleMania
fans
because they
know
were
that
leaving.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think
I bet
that's
you're right.
probably it.
I think
Because
you're right.
I know Scorpion King was around this time. So
Yeah.
And if Booker T and Goldust were talking about, yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. Overall though, I did enjoy it for the most part. It wasn't too long. There were some cool big moves. Kind of a lull in the middle with like all the bear hug and
Yeah, the bear
sharpshooter
hug
and
was
whatever. But I thought overall it was good, but it's not really what you would see today for the most part.
I agree.
Still fun.
Yeah.
Like last week.
Like, I didn't dislike it, but I was just like, oh yeah, this is why I was never on board with The Rock, right?
Yeah, I liked last week's match.
And
but,
I would have been mad if Brock had to take the people's elbow, because that's just not. I don't think that's something Brock needs to be taking. And Brock was just an absolute monster here. He looked good. Yeah, it was a good match. Nothing amazing, but it was good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about our final sort of wrestling show before we move into our last segment. And that is this week's edition of Impact Wrestling. And that's back to me.
Woo. I actually kind of like to hear about this because this is the kind of promotion where it's so bad, it's funny.
Yeah, it wasn't bad this week.
It's actually, or at least it's amusing for me.
Let's talk about it. The show immediately starts with the tables match between Diener and Jake something.
Oh, tables matches are always the best.
To start out, right? So I thought this was a good idea.
That's my favorite stipulation involving wood.
So this match starts quickly with Diener on the attack and Jake pushing him off, leading to Diener biting Jake's nose briefly. Jake then lands some offense of his own, including a low clothesline to the back of Diener's neck. Jake tries to bring a table into the ring, but Diener is able to drop kick it right into Jake's face. Diener then tries to bring the table in himself, but Jake stops him. Jake finally gets the table inside after a bit of a struggle, and I put, why don't wrestlers practice handling and setting up tables in their off time? Like, if I'm
they
a wrestler
should learn from
and
Mandy Rose.
if I have a day off, I'm coming in and spending like an hour just pulling a table out, setting it up, putting it back, pulling it out again.
Setting up and set it up in the corner,
Just
set it up
practice.
in the ring, set it up at ringside, set it up on another table.
Yes.
Remember Mandy Rose at Summerslam last year?
So eventually he gets the table set up in the corner, sort of spanning the middle rope in one of the corners. Diener eventually hits a drop toe hold to Jake, and Jake goes face first into the edge of the table. I thought this looked pretty good. Diener sets up the table in the corner vertically now before going after Jake on the outside. Jake eventually sets up a table that spans from the apron to the barricade now on the outside. Diener tries to jump onto Jake but gets caught. Diener slips out and pushes the edge of the table into Jake. Diener sets Jake up on another table, attempting to go fly off the top rope into him, but Jake stops him in time. Jake hits a sit-out powerbomb, and Diener rolls to the outside to escape. Jake attempts to power slam Diener off the steel steps onto a table, but Diener escapes and Jake falls awkwardly with his lower back hitting the steps. The two men fight their way up the ramp and to the entranceway, but Diener escapes another powerbomb and hits Jake with a low blow up on the stage. As Jake heads back to the ring, Diener starts running towards him, but Jake catches him and hits a black hole slam to Diener right through the table on the outside of the ring for the win. One thing that did bug me was the commentary team sort of set up the finish, because at the beginning they were going overboard talking about these matches almost always end just out of the blue, like it's just out of the blue, and of course that is sort of how it ended, right? Which I thought was kind of lame. Like, you've read the script and you're telling us what's going to happen. Stop it. Nonetheless, I thought this was a pretty good start to the show. For a tables match, it wasn't too crazy, honestly. I thought Jake looked good, and that this match worked well in telling a story that helps Jake with his new character, so I had no issue with this being an opener. I like the fact that they're coming right in with the match. You know, I prefer that, and I thought this was a pretty good start. So sorry, nothing to complain about yet.
Aww.
As Jake celebrates his victory, Moose appears and spears Jake something through the table that was set up in the corner, and then grabs a chair and a microphone. He kind of sets the chair up in the wrong...
I am confused.
He sets the chair up in the wrong spot, which was kind of awkward, because then when D'Amore comes out, he has to like pick up the chair and move it to face him. But anyways, that was a minor detail. He wants what was promised to him. This is Moose, sorry. But because he isn't getting his title shot, he is hijacking the show until Impact meets his demands. So one of those classic moves. Scott D'Amore walks out.
I'm not going to leave the ring till you give me what I want.
Exactly what it was. And Moose is looking so jacked and scary right now. I don't know who's going to tell him to leave, honestly. Scott D'Amore walks out and tells Moose to get out of the ring. He says that Rich Swann isn't cleared tonight and isn't even in the building. Jake Something eventually returns after being seen by doctors, and D'Amore asks him if he wants a world title match. Jake says that he does. D'Amore says, you'll see. D'Amore says he has watched Moose carry the TNA title for almost a year, so he's going to get his dream tonight. D'Amore is making the TNA World title an official championship in Impact Wrestling again.
I saw that.
And Moose will face Jake Something for the TNA championship in the main event tonight.
Wait, so Jake's competing twice.
Yes.
And nice.
And they're sort of reinstating this belt. I thought this was good as well. I think the holding the show hostage thing has been done a lot, but I was fine with it here.
I remember I kind of find it interesting because Taz did the exact same thing, literally did not get what he wanted.
Whole bunch of people have done this.
But then again, Taz and Moose are very not much the same person. One is jacked person with lots of tattoos, and the other is human rectangle.
Yes. Moose is an unreasonable monster and believes he's not being treated the way he deserves. So I think this move fits his current like self-absorbed, arrogant character. And it worked for me. D'Amore was good here too, actually. He seems to have toned down the smug, smart-alecky stuff that was driving me crazy for a while, so I appreciate that. At this point, I was hoping they would use this main event to elevate Jake. So I'm hoping like, okay, this is their chance. They've changed Jake's character. Let's see what this guy can do. So I was hoping they were going to use this match to sort of elevate Jake, and we'll find out if they did a little bit later. Next, we get Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, and Josh Alexander versus Chris Bay, Black Taurus, and Ace Austin with Madman Fulton. So the winners of this match will face each other in a triple threat match next week to decide the number one contender for the X Division title. Miguel and Bay start the match, and they have a brief back and forth ending in Trey taunting Bay with jumping jacks mid-match. Bay tags Austin in, and Miguel slaps him before tagging in Josh Alexander. The faces then take turns beating Austin down in the corner. Austin eventually escapes and tags in Black Taurus.
Yeah.
Taurus hits a dive onto Alexander as we go to commercial. Back from commercial as Ace Austin lands boots to Alexander before tagging Chris Bay back in. Bay starts slapping Alexander and tells him to get a new tag partner before Alexander is able to hit Bay with his powerbomb backbreaker, so powerbombing him into his own knee, which I think is a really cool move. Seems to be Alexander's one of his signatures now. Miguel and Austin get tagged in and things speed up, ending with Miguel putting Austin into a pendulum followed by an elbow to the back. After Miguel hits a cheeky Nando's kick on Austin, all 6 men start brawling in and out of the ring. Mac and Austin end up as the legal men, with Austin hitting a really good-looking fold.
Yeah.
And Alexander breaking up the pinfall. Because
Love
Mac's
that.
so athletic, right? Like, he kind of flips and almost takes it on his head. It looked good. There's more brawling from everybody, but Chris Bay is able to stop Alexander with a DDT before Willie Mack takes out Bay. After some assistance with Austin, Chris Bay hits the art of finesse on Willie Mack for the win. This was a really fun match. I'm thrilled with the outcome because this puts 3 of my favorites in Impact right now. We'll square off in a triple threat match next week, I think it is. So we're going to get, what was it, Bay, Black Taurus, and who was the third?
Austin.
And Ace Austin in a triple threat match, and I think that will be fun. So this combination of guys seems to work really well. I'm afraid it's going to go stale because they've been sort of going back to this well pretty often lately, but they are putting out some fun matches. Black Taurus continues to impress me, and I look forward to seeing him every week right now. Impact seems to be allowing longer matches and almost seems to be taking notes from AEW Dynamite, right? We're straight into a hot opener tables match. Then we get a multi-person tag match. So I think it looks a little reminiscent of Dynamite, who they have a relationship with, right?
Yeah.
So I like this match. Trey Miguel, again, he's backstage and he gets stopped by Sami Callihan because they've been having some interactions lately. Sami says that he told Trey so, and that everything he has said about Miguel lately has been factual. Callahan thinks Miguel is going to quit and run away and flake out again because he couldn't become the number 1 contender here. Sami says the true weak link on this team was Miguel's lack of passion, and Miguel finally snaps and attacks Sami with security eventually breaking things up. Sami starts laughing since he has successfully gotten under Trey's skin to the point where he snapped. I like this segment too. Impact is off to a hot start for me this week. Sami did a good job delivering his lines, and Miguel stays silent here, which I recommend for him usually. Sami does make some sense with what he's saying, right? Trey is missing something that holds him back from reaching his full potential, and this sets up a feud where I assume Trey is going to be built at Sami's expense, as Trey sort of seems the one they're getting more attention right now. And I agree with that strategy at this point, and it gives Sami something to do that's not like a super violent extreme death
And
match
also
or
involving
something.
an old UFC fighter.
Right. So I think this is a good use of Sami. I assume it's to build Trey, and I'm okay with that. Even though I'm not the biggest Miguel fan, I agree that he needs some focus. We then transition to Decay. They're backstage, and Rosemary says that they have always preached patience and that a lot of time has gone by. Crazy Steve says it's time to rejoice, and the resurrection of the Death Dealers is now upon us. Rosemary says that next week they will take the X Division Championship and then the rest. And then things take a turn, and she starts rambling in metaphors about life and death and dark and light. She calls the Age of Shadows as they all laugh maniacally and scream Decay as the segment ends. So visually, this was pretty cool, and the first half of it was solid. It simply went on for far too long. I like this group, and I like that they now have a third. And as long as things don't get too supernatural or sci-fi, I don't need other dimensions. I don't need magic and teleportation or anything.
I think they should get one more person so that him and Steve can get the tag belts, because I don't think they're going to get the world title. So.
And I don't think Taurus is getting X Division at this point, although he'd be pretty fun if he did.
That would make sense.
I think there's room for this faction on Impact. This segment was just far too long and sort of was rambling by the end of it. We then get our Tony and Tony, so Khan and Shivani.
With like all the other people.
Yes, this time they're joined by members of the AEW roster, and they sort of have the Jaguar Stadium as their backdrop. So they've got Britt Baker, Rebel, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, Isaiah Cassidy, Matt Hardy, and Ryan Nemeth all standing with them. So,
one of those people is not like the others.
Well, not really a lot of A talent there outside of maybe Britt Baker, I would say. But anyways,
and Ricky Starks.
Khan says that he has brought 4% of the AEW roster with him, and that is more star power than 2 years worth of Impact Wrestling, which I thought was funny. All of the wrestlers then take a turn promoting their upcoming Dynamite matches, and each one sort of takes a shot at Impact along the way, including Cage, who's like something about
Cage.
even though I was the Impact champion, and they say something like that's the last time that title was relevant or something. I thought this one was too long again this week. It did have some amusing lines at Impact's expense, but they let Cage speak, which is never a good idea, but it was okay. Just they're getting a bit longer and not quite as funny, in my opinion, as the weeks go on. We then move to Havoc and Nevaeh. So they're on the verge of a split, maybe. So they're backstage, and Havoc lists off several of their recent losses, which I don't think is helping her case, because she's trying to keep them together. And she's like, I know we lost this match, and then we lost this match, and then we lost this match. But says they don't need to end their team. They just need to think and possibly restructure the way they do things. Nevaeh says that she needs some time and walks away. So they're basically having this conversation right in front of a door, and Tenille Dashwood and Caleb with a K open the door and walk right in beside Havoc and Nevaeh. And again, sorry, Nevaeh's gone now. Dashwood says that they weren't eavesdropping, but they heard every word. And I think that's funny because she's just like, not that I was eavesdropping, but I heard everything that you two just said. So I kind of like that bit. Tenille uses the phrase carpe diem and says that they have the team with Havoc ready, even with music and an entrance and everything. But Havoc isn't interested and walks away. So Caleb with the K is still convinced that there is chemistry between Havoc and Tenille. And I actually didn't mind this segment either. Havoc and Nevaeh need to do something new, and Tenille needs to do something, period. Havoc does a better job of speaking when she's just being a regular person and not in character as a giant evil monster. Caleb has grown into his role. Where did we see Caleb recently?
Evolve 2.
We randomly put on the second ever Evolve show.
We also found Johnny Gargano.
From 2010. Super young Gargano.
Chris Hero.
Yep. Thin, fit Chris Hero. Cesaro.
Who else? Who was facing the Jamal guy? Oh, Chris Dickinson.
Oh, Chris Dickinson, who I've seen a bunch lately. Young Chris Dickinson, much slimmer with hair. Yeah, it was interesting. From 2010, right?
Yeah. I think, yeah.
So anyways, Caleb with the K is growing into this role because he was pretty awkward at the beginning of his pairing with Dashwood. I'm somewhat interested to see where this goes, but it's nothing amazing, but I think it's decent for this group of people at least. Then we get the Good Brothers, yay! Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson versus Triple XL, AC Romero and Larry D. So yeah, you're laughing, and my first note is this felt more like a traditional Impact match and not in a good way. Larry and Anderson start the match as Matt Striker drops Kota Ibushi, Tama Tonga Loa as being champions in New Japan. So lots of crossover here.
Yeah, Tama Tonga.
Anderson starts out in control of Larry before tagging Gallows in, who hits a fallaway slam.
Note the atrocity that is Jay White not being a champion.
Sure. Triple XL eventually shifts the momentum and double team Gallows, but Gallows quickly takes Romero into the corner with shots to the head and body before tagging Anderson back in.
Did he do the thing where like he puts his arms up, hits him, puts his arms up, hits him?
Probably.
How did I know?
Romero gets Anderson in the Triple XL corner as Larry D comes in and targets the now exhausted Anderson. Larry hits a scoop slam on Anderson, then applies a chin lock. Gallows eventually gets tagged back in and takes down Larry with a pair of clotheslines before hitting AC with the big boot. This leaves Larry alone in the ring. Anderson tags in, and the Good Brothers hit the Magic Killer on Larry D for the pin.
Yeah, because they're not hitting that on AC.
This was not interesting and was back to the Impact 4 to 5 minute match. Nobody looked good here, and this was kind of a lull in the show for me, and the lull continues into the next segment, which is Swingers Palace, where James Storm and Chris Sabin are winning a lot at blackjack, and Swinger is questioning if this is a Montreal screw job, because they're winning too much of the house money, basically. So Rohit and Mahabali Shera come in and join the game and violate many of the casino rules to join this game, but I guess in Swingers Palace, you could just join a hand in the middle of a hand and bet in any manner that you like. Just so many things that can't happen in an actual card room. But anyways, long story short, it causes the entire table to lose their money. So Storm and Rohit get in each other's faces. But Sabin, for some reason, says he loves Swingers Palace and he does not want to get kicked out. Swinger says that they will talk to the office and make this a match instead. So I'm fine with getting...
Feels like Wrestle House 2.
It's very much a spin-off from that, right? I'm fine with these guys getting a match, these two teams. But again, Swingers Palace and pretty much anything that Impact writes specifically as pure comedy is lost on me. Saban looks silly here saying he loves a makeshift casino with one table. I can't imagine that James Storm is happy with his positioning within the company at this
I'm sure
time.
he's so glad. I mean, he couldn't really stay in NWA, but I'm sure he's glad he chose Impact.
Yes, he's not. I mean, he's really good still, so I'm hoping for bigger things for him. This continued the lull in this week's show, as far as I'm concerned. We then move into Finn Juice is backstage and the Good Brothers. So we get the Good Brothers again, which it makes for a great program, in my opinion. The Good Brothers interrupt, asking if they saw the match where they beat up everybody. This is their new catchphrase. One more thing that I find incredibly obnoxious about them.
Beat up John Cena.
Juice Robinson says it took them long enough to beat Triple XL, but they did see it. David Finlay starts running down all the titles the Good Brothers have held. Juice says they are seriously the best team in the world at professional wrestling. ... hungover. Anderson says he's not hungover today, but Gallows says he is, as he holds an upset Anderson back from attacking them. So I just groaned at this. I was excited for the New Japan crossover, but this has been very underwhelming. I
want more New Japan crossover in AEW where it'll be good.
This has been underwhelming so far. It's hard to look good when you start off in a feud with the Good Brothers. They aren't going to do anything to help you look good, and in the end, you're just going to lose decisively, right? That's what's going to happen. So I wish Finn Juice were involved with literally anyone else on this roster. Finley's not good on the mic, in my opinion, from what I've seen the past couple weeks, but that's a minor issue because I do like him in the ring. So Good Brothers here basically admit to wrestling hungover, yet they constantly beat everyone on the roster. Story checks out, right?
So basically being drunk gets you the titles
right.
And beating everyone.
It makes them look quote unquote cool because they drink a lot and come to work hungover. And it makes everyone else look bad because they still beat everybody.
Like them, I feel like that's something that they would actually do.
So this lull is continuing in the show, and then we get to an Eddie Edwards match. So is the lull over? Probably not. Eddie Edwards comes out for a match against Brian Myers, but Myers comes out in his regular clothes with his eye patch on still. Myers says that although he would love to be in this match, he can't, and he has been advised not to. And then we see Mark Sterling, who is MJF's lawyer in AEW. He says
I saw that he was on the show.
He says all the damage Edwards has done to Myers has affected his eyesight. Sterling says, according to Myers' new contract, if there's an instance of Myers not being able to wrestle, then a replacement can be named, and this time it's Hernandez. Yay. Edwards ends up diving onto Hernandez.
I'm pretty sure the lull continues.
As he makes his way to the ring. I like Myers' hero portrayal, but what a convenient clause to have in your contract that you are just bringing up now. And I thought the same lawyer being used was a nice touch, whatever. He's now the official pro wrestling lawyer, right?
Right, and it's also because they're with AEW.
Right, they have a relationship with AEW now. Yeah. So we get Hernandez versus Eddie Edwards, and here's how thrilled I was. A fairly boring 2-minute match where Edwards wins after slipping out of the border toss and hitting a rather sloppy-looking Boston knee party off the second rope for the win. Essentially a tool to delay the match between Myers and Edwards, this is. So I'm thankful it was short. If I were Myers, I'd stop paying Hernandez, as he hasn't been successful in the last couple weeks, right? So your money is not being well spent.
I don't think he's been successful since,
they won one, because he had to pay... I remember he had to pay Hernandez the second half, right? So that means he must have won something. We then go backstage to Matt Cardona, who tells Brian Myers to stop...
Oh, your favorite.
...to stop the act with the injured eye. Scott D'Amore asks Myers how his match went, and Myers lies and says it was great. D'Amore says he saw his lawyer and he mentioned, whatever it was, Section 17H of the contract, but he didn't read it correctly. It's only the Impact doctor that needs to clear Myers, and he already did. So next week, Myers will fight Eddie Edwards in an eye-for-an-eye match with Matt Cardona as the special referee. D'Amore tells Cardona to go get his ref shirt.
Oh, no.
And make sure it doesn't have sleeves on it, which I thought was funny because Cardona's always trying to look jacked, right? Then he says he was joking about at the eye for an eye match as it's the stupidest idea ever and who would actually do it. And then he goes, and then what would happen? The eye miraculously gets better a couple weeks later. So clearly taking shots at WWE there, which was kind of funny.
That is funny.
Yeah. So I thought this was a decent segment, and it's likely just another stop on the way to an eventual Myers-Cardona match. And I generally like Myers, but I have trouble finding interest in Eddie Edwards at most points. So then we move into Kimber Lee and Susan with Deonna Purrazzo versus Jazz and Jordan Grace. Jazz is in control of Susan before Deonna distracts Jazz and ends up choking her on the bottom rope before ODB runs out and attacks Deonna. Kimberly and Jordan get involved before the referee sends ODB and Deonna to the back, so they're removed from ringside for this match. The finish to this comes when Jazz comes in and takes Kimber to the outside, allowing Susan to apply an ankle lock on Jordan, who easily escapes and hits the Grace Driver for the pin and a shot at the Knockouts tag titles. This match actually got a lot of time, and this time I'm not really happy about it. I do not enjoy this, and I feel bad for Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo that they seem to be stuck in a loop.
And Su Yung.
Well, not even her, because I'll mention that in a second.
No, I mean like Su Yung.
They're stuck in a loop with this group of wrestlers who I don't love. I have no desire to see Jazz or ODB anymore, no offense to them. And having a solid wrestler like Su Yung act like she can't wrestle in a division that's lacking depth, right? Like, this is a division that right now needs people, and she's pretending she can't wrestle, so that annoys me.
You know, it'd be a cool team for the Knockouts tag belts is if Su Yung joins Decay.
Yeah, she could. I mean, it might be a bit of overkill, but anyways. Jordan Grace and Jazz are backstage and find ODB taken out, lying on the floor, saying it had to be Deonna, and security quickly come to help her out. So this group's going to continue to mingle and battle. Great. Yay.
It's exactly what you wanted, except it's not.
Fight forever.
Fight forever.
Next week, we're getting Before the Impact BTI. Ha ha ha. Not stealing at all from any other company. Rohit will face James Storm. Brian Myers versus...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Previewing Impact and then exclusive matches.
That's right. Brian Myers will take on Eddie Edwards with Matt Cardona as the referee. The Good Brothers and Finn Juice will take on Triple XL and Reno Scum.
Wait, so they're teaming together and also Reno Scum's still there?
Yeah, they are. They wrestled last week, too. They wrestled Finn Juice last week.
Right. I didn't hear about that.
Number one contendership for the X Division Championship. We get Chris Bay, Ace Austin, and Black Taurus, which should be awesome.
I actually do want to watch that.
So then we get the main event of this match, which is for the TNA, the newly reinstated as of this show, TNA World Heavyweight Championship, and that is Moose.
Actually for it.
Moose defending against Jake Something in his second match of the night, so he's in the opener and the main event. Good for him. As Moose comes out to do his entrance, Jake Something attacks him from behind and literally stands in his spotlight, which I thought was really cool. Because I don't know if you know Moose's entrance, but he's got the giant spotlight on him. So it's funny, Jake sort of takes him out from behind and literally just steals the spotlight, stands and basks in Moose's spotlight for a minute. It looked cool. Moose and Jake brawl outside the ring for a while before the match actually begins. The match officially begins, and Moose hits a nice drop kick to Jake in the corner. Each man take turns chopping the other, and Moose pulls on Jake's nose and hair, but Jake is able to knock Moose to the outside. Moose trips Jake on the apron and heads back into the ring. A bit later, Jake starts hitting some short arm clotheslines while holding onto Moose's wrist. Moose comes back with a headbutt, but runs into a lariat from Jake, who gets a 2 count. Moose hits another drop kick to Jake as he sits on the top rope, and that always looks impressive because Moose is a huge guy, but he is a very athletic fellow. So
he's like a little slimmer Keith Lee.
Because Jake's a big guy sitting on the top rope, and Moose gets up high enough to kick him in the face, no problem. Moose then hits a big superplex and signals for the finish. Instead, I was surprised, Jake hits a sit-out powerbomb for a close 2 count here, which was really nice. We get a strike exchange before Jake ends up running into a big boot and a pair of Uranagis, followed by a ripcord clothesline from Moose, which was a nice sequence from him as well. Jake slowly gets up and gets hit by the lights out spear from Moose for the pin, which isn't a surprise, obviously. After the match, Moose grabs a chair and starts hitting Jake with it, but Rich Swans runs into the ring and starts attacking Moose before getting separated by security. Scott D'Amore comes out and says the time is set. On March 13th at Sacrifice, Rich Swann will defend the Impact World title against Moose. Yeah.
Actually, no, you go first. I'll say it after.
This match was quite good and a pretty solid main event, especially by Impact standards. Jake looked like a legit talent here and got some really nice offense in against Moose, actually more offense than I thought he was going to. It feels like this show was partly to see what they can get out of Jake, right? And I think he delivered in both matches. He's a big man. He's got a cool look. He's capable of a good match against top talent in this company in Moose. He just showed us. I enjoyed this and thought both men come out looking fairly strong, and I'm hoping for big things for Jake because he's a guy that most people haven't seen anywhere else, so he can be like an Impact guy for them going forward. And I think he looked good on this show in general. Sorry, what were you saying?
So I've heard that Swan's gonna beat Moose, and I think for the both titles. So I think hopefully it'll I think it'll probably lead to it being a double title match.
Probably.
I think. And then he drops both belts to him, or like he faces Omega and maybe drops them to Omega.
I hope they do not keep the TNA title around. There's no way a company this size with one program needs.
Yeah, but so
more titles.
basically I've heard that he's gonna take that title from Moose, and then maybe
they can merge
it'll
them.
be and then I've heard he's at least facing Omega, maybe dropping to Omega. I want him to drop it to Omega.
And Moose Swan will be a good match, I'm sure. It's just nice to see that I think they have some plans for Jake. So overall, this show was pretty good. It had some issues in the middle for me. The stretch with the Good Brothers, Triple XL, Swingers Palace, Edwards, Hernandez, and the women's tag match was not fun to watch.
So basically, majority of the show.
Nah, the middle chunk. The opener, the main event, the X Division 6-man were good. Basically, I really enjoyed the first hour or so. Then there was a lull in the second hour before the strong main event. And that to me sounds like pretty much a B show. So I'm going to give them a B. I do see signs of improvement, even in just letting some of the more interesting matches have a bit longer on television. I've noticed that trend over the last few weeks. There's fewer like 4 and 5 minute matches and a couple that are like 10 or 12 minutes. And if those are the right matches, I think that's a good choice to make. So I'm optimistic going forward, and we'll see what happens next week.
Nice.
All right, so that brings us to our final segment of every week's show, and that is where Jack's going to take a few minutes to tell us what's new in the world of wrestling figures, and that is what we call Figuring It Out with Jack.
Yeah. So first up, not super important, but some new toy championships are available for pre-order. So the Intercontinental title, 2019 redesign, the Red Universal title, and the WWE championships are already available. But the ones available for pre-order that are new are the 2020 redesign US Championship and the blue 2019 redesign for the Universal Championship. So those are out. Anyone with children, or if you want to get those. Then we got basic 119. It's now in stock, surprisingly quick, I must add. And the series, the lineup's questionable. It includes Dominic Dijakovic. He's wearing like a red and black attire. Face scan's not great. The Triple H is actually my favorite of the set. It's in his black suit, kind of NXT dad attire, and I think that we don't get a lot of suited Triple H's. It showed dad. It looks pretty nice. Then we got John Cena, who's like it's the Ruthless Aggression era chain gang logo kind of Cena.
What a dumb era.
Which is fine. Randy Orton with blue logos is fine, and then Lacey Evans in black and yellow, and then Lacey Evans in black and red are both fine. I just like the suited Triple H because we don't get that a lot, and it actually looks pretty nice.
And it's different from all the other Triple H's.
But this feels like one of those filler sets to me where there's no real standouts. I think more some basics, you're not gonna find any standouts, but I think even the upcoming Elite 87 where you got like Otis and Santos Escobar's getting a figure, and Strowman and someone else. But it's like it feels like one of those filler sets, and it's like basics. They're not always gonna be great, but sometimes there's like the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt where it's like really good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But this feels like one of those like lesser sets to me. You got 3 stars who don't need more figures, and then 2 newer stars who didn't get good figures in the set. In my opinion, I think the Lacey Evans is fine, but Dijakovic's face scan just looks weird to me. But the set's whatever. The Jeff Hardy and Triple H Elite 2-pack is now on ringside for pre-order after being revealed a little while ago. It's based on when Jeff beat Triple H for the Intercontinental title, which is included the oval one, on April 12th, 2001 edition of SmackDown. It's pretty cool. It's like, a classic red-haired Jeff Hardy. He actually comes with like, the mesh t-shirt.
Oh boy, do I ever remember.
Shirt. Yeah. He actually comes with that, and then also a Hardy Boys tank top.
An awful fashion choice.
Yeah, it looks okay sometimes, but I know what you mean. And then a new series revealed Championship Showdown 2-Packs Series 4. I really don't like that these are replacing the Battle Packs, because the Battle Packs finally got like accessories again.
Which you love.
Right, it just helps, and then it's not just 2 basics. And now they just come with figure stands, basically. Which I think is kind of dumb. I think like they could do this, but there should be like either a championship, and maybe like one accessory. Like say it's King Booker, the Bobby Lashley one, right?
Yeah.
You get the little scepter or like
something.
or like if it's the Fiend and Daniel Bryan one. I would have gotten it if it's like the Universal title and then also the strap.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that was the Survivor Series. But if it was the Royal Rumble one, if it was a strap match. Anyways, the series includes Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles, likely from SmackDown on July 17th, 2020 of last year, shortly after Matt Riddle debuted and when AJ was Intercontinental Champion. And I'm interested because this is like when AJ, after he won the tournament, right? And then he started introducing this new attire, because you know how he usually brings in a new attire and then uses that kind of as a formula, usually, like.
Yeah.
And so this is like one of those times where he brought in a new kind of layout and it looked really cool. So I'm hoping it'll be probably one of those, and even if it's a basic, I might get it. And it's also Matt Riddle, so
Nice.
And then we get Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, which will likely either be Money in the Bank from last year or Hell in a Cell when it was McIntyre and Ziggler versus Rollins and Dean Ambrose, or maybe Raw from 2018 when Rollins was doing the Open Challenge, or they also had another tag title match where Rollins and Ambrose won, but then Ambrose turned heel, and that's also when Roman got leukemia.
Right.
So it's probably one of those three. Probably more likely they're one-on-one from Money in the Bank. So, and then we got John Morrison versus Kofi Kingston, which I think will either be, remember the weird triple threat from WrestleMania last year?
Yes.
It'll either be that, or I'm sure they faced off in like 2010 or around that era. I wouldn't know. But that's it.
Nice. Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 32 of the FNS Wrestling Podcast.
Yes.
Thank you for spending any time with a father and son team who like to sit down and talk about pretend fighting as much as we can. So we appreciate you checking us out. Again, you can contact us on our Instagram or email. I talked about them at the beginning of the show. They'll also be in any description, no matter where you're probably listening to this show. So thanks again for checking us out. And I don't know if we'll have any extra content coming out this week. You never know. So just, subscribe and you'll get notifications, obviously, if we do. So thanks again, and we look forward to meeting you back here around the same time and from the same place next week. And until then, take care.
Peace out.